You
could talk
want
about Marvel
news?
Rivals.
Yeah, we could talk about how Disney Plus has a section that says characters featured in Marvel Rivals.
Which is hilarious to think about.
You want to watch Cloak and Dagger or Punisher?
I'll watch
Because
Punisher.
it's giving you the options.
Punisher's good. Cloak and Dagger, not as much, having seen it.
What about Fan Four Stick?
Have not seen, don't plan on seeing.
Like the actors in it, and still don't plan on seeing it.
Welcome everyone to this recap for the Chief Seat Critics podcast of season 22. Where are you?
That's right.
With me today,
Yeah.
we have.
Hello, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, the Geeky Writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Sprinks. Now, Crimson, I gotta congratulate you. That was a smooth lean in. Didn't even know that was the cold open we agreed with, so very good on you. The hesitation
Yeah.
pause, though, after Where Are You, could use a little touch up. But
Well done.
Hey, audience, wherever you're listening from right now, if you're listening from an Arby's bathroom or the library where that lady's giving you the side eye, don't pay attention to her. But you could just tell her, hey, you can listen to Cheap Seat Critics podcast anywhere on any audio platforms. But if you're a visuals person and enjoy that with PNG tubers or a slideshow that we do, you can find us over on YouTube and Rumble. But be sure to follow us on our socials over on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Blueski. Love Blueski. Am I forgetting one? Why do I feel like I'm forgetting one? The only thing I think I'm forgetting is LetterBoxd, where we have our average out graphs and numbers of whatever it is we have covered.
Can't forget that. It's like our archive area. For the most
Yeah,
part.
pretty much.
One of our few archive areas. We have a couple, but that's the main one.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo season, guys. How exciting was that? I'm kind of sad it's over.
Didn't end on a high bar. Unless we're counting this.
No, we didn't. I would have missed it if we had ended it with Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, but we decided to do Velma season 2. So no, I don't think I missed it as much as I wished I could.
No, but it makes sense, right? To finally just get that done with.
The chance to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank God
There was a time to bite the bullet. That was the time.
Yes, it's canceled.
Yeah, it's true. And now it's like premiere content in the same way our Willow season is almost. It's very.
Oh, really? Can you not watch Velma? Do they remove
it's
it?
not that you can't watch it; it's that you shouldn't watch it.
Well, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't. There's a difference, but it's
so you
similar.
Should watch our coverage instead of the show, just like Willow. You watch our stuff instead of the show because you can't on.
Yeah, you can't watch the show. Yeah. No, Willow's sad that it's just gone.
It was no Velma level. If one had to go, Velma would be the one to go.
But now, would you rather have Velma gone or Edge of History gone?
Edge of History. Ooh.
Because that tarnishes something you have a 10 out of.
One hates the audience, one hates the source material. Well, they both hate the source material. But at least Edge of History feels like they're trying with the property. Velma does not feel that way. So I would say Velma would be the one to go for sure.
Okay.
I don't know. You feel the same way?
Yeah, I like Edge of History more.
Yeah.
Even the stupid, like, the FBI guy was the bad guy the whole time.
Oh.
Yeah, Pearson.
The reason why we didn't tell you that, we got a tip on it is because I'm a bad guy from the first movie.
Yeah. So I don't even know if I talked about this in the recap. I did watch the rest of that show. I did not enjoy that show at all, but I still think Velma is the season to go. It's the show to go.
Yeah, I don't think you did say you finished. I know you said you watched some of it.
Yeah,
I
was
know
there
if you ever said you finished it.
I watched like 3 episodes. When I originally talked with you guys about it, I do remember finishing the show though.
Wow.
No, I know I had
season 22 where that from way back when callback finishing that storyline. You didn't like it, huh?
Shock, surprise, surprise.
What, they found all the treasure and the first thing they do is take a group selfie? Yeah.
It's for the kids. They're trying to be hip. They're meta now.
Yeah. That's why they have a scene of Winter Soldier in there.
Winter Soldier.
Yeah, there was an episode where
Does not
they're
come to
watching
mind.
Winter Soldier, and it's Cap
Oh, yeah, on the
being
couch.
Bucky, and the
Yeah.
guy's like, "That's like us. I'll be there for you." And
Yeah, you took that to heart.
I was like, "Wow."
Yeah, yeah, what a day, what a time.
All right. Scooby-Doo. I have a Scooby-Doo question
Oh
Ooh,
boy,
to start off here. I
a
just have
tailored Scooby-Doo question.
yes. So we saw what 8 things, 7 things.
7,
7 things, I think.
Scooby-Doo,
4 VHS, 2 James
and
Gunn, Velma season 2.
mhm. And through them we did get some callbacks to previous monsters. Through Cyber Chase and Scooby-Doo 2. Velma indirectly with like posters in the background and costumes, but um, I'm not really counting that. It kind of gets me interested in wanting to watch the episodes those monsters were from, and I was curious if you guys wanted that too.
Indifferent. Like some of
Um,
those I know what they're from. Um,
Mm.
well, I have started Mystery Incorporated.
oh,
Without
The
me, I feel betrayed.
Was I supposed to wait for
yeah,
you?
welcome
I'm
to the club.
sorry. Hey, I've still
Oh,
held off on Vox Machina. All right.
Yeah, but you still watched a couple without me.
Yeah, I was gonna rope you back in for the season finale.
how far are you in Mystery Incorporated?
I'm only in episode 5, I think, when I left off. I'm unfortunately very slow at getting through shows and movies because I fill my time up with writing and university stuff. So it's going very slowly.
Yes, I did do a good job selling it for you. That
You did,
one
yeah. Yeah, I'll say this:
whatever that
it's
was.
very weird to hear. So Velma's voice actors in Mystery Incorporated, very good voice actress. Did not expect to hear her voice as Velma. I'm used to her. I'm used to that voice actors playing Tanya, Saga of Evil, like a little evil world-ending gremlin.
Hmm.
So going from that to Velma is, as far as her line of work, is a pretty big jump for me.
For Velma, I thought Linda Cordellini did Velma. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been too long since I've seen that show.
I've only seen like the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, good show. Uh, yeah, I guess back to the thing. I would be interested to see them again, and I did see a lot of the episodes with these monsters, but that was when I was just a little child watching Boomerang. So a refresh, I feel like, is necessary for me. I would be interested.
Oh yeah,
Like
to get back to the original question,
the
yes,
cat
I
guy
agree.
from Cyber Chase. I don't remember him at all in
Jaguaro?
the show. Yeah, Chihuahua. I don't remember him at all.
I think Creeper is the one I recommended the most because that's one I had on VHS growing up.
Yeah, I've covered, I guess, in our histories of the episodes of like how many I know and whatnot.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of on board with Crimson. I do want to eventually go back and kind of rewatch the monsters and stuff now, just to see if to find their origin episodes. Because that does sound like fun to me. So
And then we can see how they got buffed or nerfed depending on which thing they're in. Did Gator Guard get buffed or nerfed in Cyber Chase?
Well, he was real in Cyber Chase, so
Real in a virtual space,
real
but
enough,
he didn't really
really
do anything that a
virtual
guy
space.
couldn't
Yeah.
do. He's just walking around,
survived falling
snapping.
off a roller coaster.
Well, I guess so, but so did the Freds on that stupid bouncy castle.
Well, they had did the Gator Gruel fall on a bouncy castle?
We don't. Hey, he could have landed in the water. We don't really see where he lands. Kind of goes in the direction of the ocean. It would make sense being a gator to swim back.
Don't know.
Don't know if you want to take us somewhere, Springs.
Oh boy, well, there's the ratings. Did anyone have any interesting rating questions? Anything surprise you? Anything jump out at you?
Oh, I got
Heavy
some rating
hitter question.
changes. That's for sure. Uh,
Sure, I also have a rating change.
Oh,
yeah.
if you have some
I
changes, Crimson, make sure to jot these down in your notes because you keep track.
Yeah. So I guess I'll go first because I think I talked about. I think I alluded to it at the end of Scooby-Doo 2. I was going to change my rating for the original live action Scooby-Doo. Um, I I think I in while giving the breakdown for that, I was very focused on the world building aspect not functioning particularly well. In a weird way, Scooby-Doo 2 kind of helped me, I guess, ground that perspective a little bit more on what they when they was expanding upon its characters and stuff like that within the context of that film. In the first one, so kind of they kind of help build off each other a little bit. Um, so I am gonna move my original live action Scooby-Doo rating up zero point 0.5, so it's gonna be sitting right in the middle, 5.5. Um, I still don't think it's as good as Scooby-Doo 2, but I do think it, as far as my rating change is concerned, I think the world building aspect was weighed, I think, just a little too heavily for me on my initial rating of that film.
Okay, that makes sense of what I know about your scale. Uh, for me, that's also in the 2002 Scooby Doo, and that is my subjective. I've gone back to my whole rating chart and see how it lines up with everything, and it doesn't. I rated it too high, so I'm changing it from an 8.5 to an 8. Still very good, respectable score. I still like it, and I do see it as on par with Zombie Island, but for different reasons. um, but yeah, it's at an 8 now.
Yeah, you did shock me with that one. I thought you kept your nostalgia rose tinted glasses on.
Certainly. I mean, the pretty much all these Scooby Doo things except for witches. Well, Velma, Alien Invasion, Witches. So I guess half of them I have some nostalgia glasses.
Yeah.
Um,
It's weird. Yeah. Well, the weird thing for me is I don't really have nostalgia glasses for anything here. I'm surprised at how much I enjoyed like Zombie Island. I didn't know what to expect from it. Um, and I think I also, uh, having seen Scooby Doo 2, I imagine that's a movie that if I do rewatch again, I'll end up enjoying it more this a second time.
yeah, I
Probably.
think it's one that sticks. I don't think it would get worse, at least. Well, I don't know. Maybe the
I don't
podcast
know.
coverage would change your mind going through it. I don't
A
know.
first time watch
Um,
is definitely the mystery. Once you know the mystery, I
You're looking for the clues of it
yeah,
and stuff like
dilutes it
that.
a
Yeah.
slight, but I think Monsters Unleashed, what holds it up is that whole more cartoon world opposed to the first one, and with other, if you're watching other Scooby Doo shows or earlier movie stuff, and that's kind of what you're binging, you're like, oh yeah, Monsters Unleashed, let's just pop that on. It has more of that vibe and tone to it than a different offset of the 2002 Scooby Doo, the first one of live action.
yeah, and it is digestible on its own. It doesn't really require the first one either.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
We kind of talked about it during the podcast. The like you can do it's divorced enough that you don't need to have seen the first one, which I think is to the film's benefit. Even though seeing the first one would help certain aspects of like particular characters not stand out. Like obviously it might feel like Daphne's ability to fight might come out of nowhere a little bit in part two, if with you hadn't seen part one.
I
But
guess, but if you just came off of Cyber Chase
that's
or
fair.
Zombie Island,
Different Daphnes, though.
it is, but then it wouldn't be
And
as
if you went
shocking
off
that she
this
can fight.
original if you went off the original 69s, then you would be
Then you'd be,
surprised
yeah,
then.
you'd be,
So, really contextual to what you'd be
yeah,
seeing because there's these characters have been around for, what, 50 years?
longer than
So,
that.
yeah, like 56, 55, depending. So, long time. Lots of shifts and changes. I mean, look at Velma. Lots of changes for the characters on that one.
Yeah.
Might have just shivered in disgust.
Uh, I guess a surprise. It's not a particular rating, just a spectrum of the ratings is for writer. I was surprised on how high your 8.5s and your 7.5 for Cyber Chase were, because I didn't really know your view on Scooby-Doo going into this other than it was very limited. So it was quite interesting to see the passion behind them, how much you like them. And then comparing it to your live actions, it had me questioning what is the difference for them? What do you see more value in with the animated versus the live action?
This is my subjective rating I'm taking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always known Scooby. I mean, this goes back to I think the first question I asked at the start of the first live action Scooby Doo, which is how we feel about live action adaptations of cartoons. Um, it's a very very difficult thing to do, and in a way you can't. Sometimes and sometimes it's like difficult to improve upon something that's already good in the format that it's already in. And obviously that's become more cynical over time with the quote unquote live action remakes that Disney's been doing constantly, like with the Lion King, Jungle Book, etc., etc. Um, and soon to be How to Train Your Dragon. That's gonna be fun. It's gonna be so it kind of boils down to just for me, it's not like it leaves a bad taste in my mouth because I still recognize like they're still trying. This is still in the era of them like trying to make it wacky, cartoony, which I think they embraced more in the second film, which is why I like it a bit more. Um, and it's just kind of a personal thing. Of like in this instance where I'm just so used to it being animated animation, it tends to take away, I guess, the I guess what I would like in a Scooby Doo. Like personally in a Scooby Doo adaptation into live action and stuff like that. It's just the lack of animation that might be bugging me. The other aspect that goes into this is at least for the first one, I never I don't get much of the gang playing off of each other, which I think is kind of one of the weaker spots of that film for me because I have a very big thing of at least subjectively a big thing for found family stuff. And for me, the gang always came across to me as a bit of a found family dynamic, and that's why they stick together with each other through thick and thin. And even if they fight and have their differences, they always come together in the end. Um, so when I guess in case of the first live action film, they kind of lacked a bit of that for me because they split up, and then I saw the necessity for it, I guess, and why they objectively wanted to do it. Whereas I guess the subjective part of me was wishing they didn't because I would have found it more entertaining and interesting if they allowed the gang to just kind of stay together and play off each other in a different way. But obviously, we would have gotten a very different movie. So to boil down my answer, um, animation to live action, it's always going to be awkward, um, and then it's just a matter of how good you can do it, and then just the gang dynamic was missing a little bit for me in that film.
Okay.
Ryder, would
Answer your
that
question.
uh, you probably, I mean, in a way you just answered it, but I'm just curious if you had any more to tag on. Is this kind of the reason why when you gave your rating for Monsters Unleashed, you stated that you thought, well, my question is, why did you think it was a hot take to say that you like Monster Unleashed more than the first one?
That's a good
I was,
question.
yeah. So I was watching the film because, mind you, remember I didn't know what your guys' perspective on it. I didn't hear from you in the months building up to like, oh man, the second one's better than the first one. I never heard that. So, and usually the pattern is when it comes to these kinds of movies, the second one's always worse. Usually, there's obviously the famous exceptions. Empire Strikes Back is better than the original. And then obviously, but usually it feels like you're going from Raiders of the Lost Ark to Temple of Doom. You have a
Oh,
you have a decline. Usually, is what people feel like when you're going to the second film.
I guess that's an
Um,
okay example.
yeah,
I'd go
I
with
mean,
Jurassic Park to Lost World, but
yeah, Jurassic Park
Yeah.
to Lost World. Yeah, that's a fair one. And then that's another example. But that's like but even then, even if it's a good franchise, like I'm not going to say Temple of Doom is a bad film. It's just obviously the quality of it's just a tiny bit beneath the original. That's usually predominantly the stereotype for films like these. especially with one that doesn't have a third one. Usually, that's an indication that there being a fall off. So when I was watching the second one, and I was realizing I was enjoying it a lot more, I realized that I didn't, because I didn't know what you guys were gonna stand on for that. My idea of a hot take was is I was gonna be the only one that happened to like it more, up until I realized that you guys also agreed with me.
Yeah, I think Sprinks and I were trying to keep our emotions in check through this season for most of the things we were going to cover before you witnessed them.
Yeah, I just knew
Yeah,
Ryder hadn't seen like a huge chunk of these, and a couple you're like, oh, I remember bits when you were younger, or you have seen, but I just didn't want to state anything of my own that possibly influenced you on your viewing. So I wanted to make it,
yeah.
as bland as possible until the coverage.
Yeah, yeah, that's totally fair. And like I said, that manifested into me feeling as I might have a hot take for Scooby-Doo 2. As when we were getting sitting down to do coverage for that, because I at that point I was only certain with my feelings that I enjoyed it more than the first one.
Yeah. Your hottest take would be that if your favorite VHS movie of the four was Alien Invaders.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
we don't know anyone whose opinion is like that.
Well, at a point in time, I thought Sinister was saying that, but
I
he
believe he did at one point.
he just went with that's the one he owned,
Yeah.
so he saw that one a
yeah,
lot.
So it's like a nostalgia bias for it, I guess.
yeah, that's fair. Like I said, I remember seeing Cyberchase um on a television growing up as a kid. And like I said, as I said during coverage, I don't have very many good memories of it, but it is one of the films I had seen. I know I had seen before. I just remember nothing about it. So I have some bias towards that film, at least in terms of subjectively, which is might be why it's sitting at a 7.5. But um, so yeah, I totally get what the I guess the hot takes. Uh, Now that you've had some time to think about it, Crimson, how do you feel about your adjusted rating for Daphne being a removable character in Alien Invaders?
I feel confident with the adjusted rating because I think I changed my rating twice in the in that coverage. Uh, my initial change and then your Daphne bomb uh, lower. So I feel comfortable with it still. Still shocked that we all agreed Daphne was removable in a Scooby Doo
Yeah, she's in the list.
movie. Crazy.
Yeah, even
Yeah,
I'm shocked. I'm still surprised that I felt that way at the end of the film.
it's almost unthinkable. It's crazy.
It is.
It's almost like having a Scooby Doo show without Scooby Doo. Hold on a second.
Well, yeah.
Hmm.
Teed yourself up on that.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I uh, I guess we'll move along to Sprinks. Do you have any surprise ratings or adjustments you'd like to make, or found one of our ratings surprising over the course of the season?
Good question. I don't think I have any of my own to adjust. I think I was pretty set on everything I gave. Alien Invaders is a bit of a little bit of a harsh of objective, but it didn't. I mean, from Alien Invaders to Velma, it's a point 0.5 difference, and it's mostly the detriment on development is all the writing and world building and character. And Alien Invaders doesn't have such a hated hit to that, but it just has a overall quality of the product done isn't strong. Um,
Yeah, it's just
and of a comparison.
Alien Invaders felt more disappointing, while Velma just felt like pain.
Yes, but the
Hot
pain was
garbage.
chosen and made in a way. So its writing team, even though I didn't like it, was still structured more into that way of getting the hate or getting those offensive jokes or plot points that they wanted to get them made. Alien Invaders felt very bare boned. It didn't feel like a
Yeah.
lot of depth or muscle in the movie of the characters, which I think to me
Well, I brought up
lacks
how
more.
bad the red herrings were.
Yeah, the red hair, like the old man working for the aliens, no connection whatsoever. He's just a crazy old man. Or the flower picker mechanic dude, nothing. Like
fuck. Yeah, I mean, my complaint was there's 3 aliens and they didn't set up any red herrings of trios. That
No,
was my
especially when
biggest
the
thing missing.
beginning of the movie shows the trio. That is your first
Yeah,
introduction to the movie is these 3 people.
yep, so I think they completely failed in that department.
Yeah. I would comparatively to that, I actually thought that, and not because on topic of red herrings, I was actually very one of the reasons I enjoyed Scooby-Doo 2 so much, Monsters Unleashed, is I thought they did a great job with the red herrings in that film.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Old man Winkle?
Winkle,
Wickle.
Winkle? Yeah.
Wickle,
I don't know.
Yeah, we called him Winkle, but I'm pretty sure
It's
it's
Wickle.
Wickle.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And Patrick
all the
and
same to me.
I guess Jonathan Jacobo if you want to throw him in there.
I mean, they set up enough breadcrumbs
I do.
to be possible to figure it out. But I would like to know if I had like a genie, like what percentage of viewers guessed it correctly? Because it's not like an obvious thing. It's kind of have to extrapolate some
Yeah.
stuff.
And then they give like the whole you think it's the news report. I forget her name. Heather or something, maybe?
Heather Jesper Howe.
Oh, I did get it right. Yeah. You think it's her because of how she's framing the Mission Incorporated, and then you have the masked man when she's present with the Daphne talk, and then you're like, oh, it can't be her. She can't be in 2 places at once, or you question that if it's a clone thing or she's a monster herself that was made, and because we had that whole talk, it's like, what if a human went in the monster machine? What if someone with clothes went in? It's like, do the clothes turn into monsters?
Where
What
did
if a
that pirate ship come from?
what if the monster went back in the machine?
Yeah. So yeah, the magic system slash science, because they kind of framed it as science, didn't really have any backing on it, so very
yeah.
open ended. And assuming you're done, Sprinks, or
Yeah,
did you
yeah.
have
If
Any
that was your
surprise ready
surprise,
for
is a
us?
surprise. Uh, no, I'm not necessarily surprised, but it is just interesting, writer, for you to see that Zombie Island and Witch's Ghost is the same match
Mhm.
objective. But I'm not really blown
yeah,
away at that because you've been told a lot that you resemble Ravencroft, and Witch's Ghost is a decently fun movie. And I just think it's fine that those match up in my head of like what would you find entertaining,
plus Hex Girls.
and Hex
No,
Girls and Velma with a love interest who just so happens to resemble Ryder. So
No. I now, like I said at the start of that coverage, I now understood why everyone was telling me why it looked like him.
yeah.
uh,
Also, voice
yeah,
talent
I
of Tim
guess
Curry is pretty good too.
yeah, he plays bad guy pretty well. At least voiceover wise, I
Now I find him
his
better as
live action
Hexus, but
stuff.
what are you saying about his live action stuff?
As a villain, not on the same level as Ravencroft for me.
You think the hotel
Like
manager or whatever from Home
I was
Alone
just about
2
to say,
is a
Home Alone
villain?
2, he is a villain in that. He's the antagonist to Kevin. So that's an enjoyable villain
Yeah, but such
portrayal,
a
but
small role.
Ravencroft. Yeah. I mean, that's
It's a small
I don't know.
role. It's got like 3
I mean,
scenes.
no, it's more than that. When was the last time you saw Home Alone 2?
A long time ago.
Yeah, yeah, it's in there for a bit. The hotel staff.
Oh, that's him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Rocky Picture Horror
Oh,
Show
that's
and
probably his most well known thing.
Blue and something else. I'm feeling is big. That I'm blanking on.
I think Franco is
Um,
big, but that might just be me.
I don't know if Ferngully is big. That's like a
It's
cult
kind of
following
niche.
film,
Yeah.
I think.
Legend?
Yeah.
Is Legend big? I don't think that's very big.
Uh-uh. I don't think so.
I Am Legend, pretty big, but
Oh, they're completely different movies.
I guess my last thing for the rating stuff is I was just surprised how consistent the Scooby Doo stuff was overall. I mean, you had the Invaders dip, but past that, it was all well, obviously Velma, but that's on a different planet. Uh,
Oh, you're going with
pretty
the average
consistent.
thing? They're mostly all sevens,
Average.
kind of?
I mean, s- I'm also thinking just overarching Scooby Doo as a franchise. I mean, there's a reason it's been around for half a century, and they have a formula that works, and I think that kind of shows itself here. Uh, and just the tiny snippet we took out of the 50 years, this little snippet shows that there's something to it.
Yeah, it's got its ups and downs, and it has its great moments.
I agree.
Yeah.
But as you say, I think I agree. It's pretty consistent with Velma aside. I never felt at any point that I like was hating the franchise. I found myself at least enjoy at the barest minimum, like at its worst, outside of Velma, I wasn't even bored. I was just entertained, I guess, in the barest sense of the word, which would be Alien Invasion or Invaders.
Oh,
Oh
got you
god.
again.
Yeah.
Which I would like to
Uh,
apologize to Sprinks on because I incorrectly corrected him in Cyber
Oh,
Chase
you did?
for that. So
Yeah. Validation.
there you go.
I knew something was off about that, but it was a good
I,
bit.
I,
I'll
s-
say that. It was a funny bit because it's still confused of what the title's called to
it's
people. And I don't know why.
it's still relevant.
It's a hard one.
Yeah. I
Oh,
still feel like it's Alien Invasion because I feel like that's what I read
Does it
online
just sound
constantly.
better? Just
It
calling
does. It
Alien
it
Invasion?
legitimately
does.
sounds better.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know. Hey,
Tougher
we.
question.
Oh, okay.
Favorite iteration of each character?
Gosh.
Oh, that's a
Of
long
each character.
question,
Yes.
Okay.
but only from what we've
So
covered.
like only from what we've covered. So like your favorite Fred from the season, your favorite Velma from the season, that sort of thing. So I guess we'll start
Is
with
this
Fred.
is this per universe? Because we have like 3 universes here, or is it per film?
I think it should be per film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, good to touch on that too. Hey, if you're listening just to the recap and you didn't listen at all to the season, I think we landed on that the 4 VHS are shared universe, right? That was our final.
We agreed on that, but we had variation with each other on order and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Timeline
Shared
is.
universe, but variation on timeline. And then obviously we think the James Gunn verses together, and then
Oh yeah,
Velma's on its own different planet that should be exterminated.
Should be exterminated.
it's an Elseworld thing. All right, best Fred.
Okay.
Best Fred. We'll just go in order of the
Yeah.
Sure.
characters. Okay.
I'll go first since I asked the question. Um, I think my favorite version of Fred mm, is probably between Zombie Island and Cyber Chase.
Okay. Yeah, I was
And I,
kind of between Zombie Island and Monsters Unleashed.
Interesting.
In
Yeah.
Zombie Island, he's competent. He helps Daphne with her her show. Scooby-Doo 2, he's a little bit more wishy-washy on his intelligence. He's more streamlined than Scooby-Doo 2002. That one, he was all over with his intelligence levels. But in Scooby-Doo 2, I think he was just more enjoyable and for me to watch.
To me, I'm on Cyber
uh,
Chase. I think is my answer. Because
Which
opposed.
uh,
Fred in Cyber Chase?
Okay,
Because there's
well,
two.
normal, the starting Fred, not the video game Fred.
Okay.
Because even though he's a little bit of a, the muscle meathead thing, he still has leadership skills in Cyber Chase, like the whole
yeah,
gladiator thing, and everything. Zombie Island, he feels a lot more like a follower with Lena and Daphne and a lot of accusation stuff.
That
yeah.
is true. He is more of a follower.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and then you just kind of convinced me. I think I might be Cyber Chase as my Fred as well. I think my issue with Scooby Doo 2 Fred is why he wasn't like in my top two is that while I like the arc that the movie intended to give him on, I think it needed to be fleshed out a little bit more, and he probably would have walked away with it easily. Because I think the intention of behind there are the arc they give him, which is him admitting to Daphne that he's really scared. I actually think there's something that could be really, really impactful and meaningful from that I don't think they played around with enough.
and I think they dumb them down in bits for the jokes, like the
Yeah.
fat conversation, or I think Coolsville sucks. And
All right. Next one will be Velma. I
So
started the
Alien
first
Invaders,
one.
everybody. No, Velma. So I
Obviously, we're
guess I'll
picking
go for
Velma from
Velma.
season. Velma.
Yeah, from season 2 of Velma. Um, no, I guess Velma. I'm also kind of leaning to live actions again, but I'm trying to think which version in those. I think I kind of like her a tad more in the first live action Scooby Doo.
okay,
She does have less to do in that one because she kind of has the fun interaction with Shaggy and fun. She has the interaction with Shaggy and Scooby, and she's got the Patrick stuff in the second one. But I kind of just enjoyed her presence in the first one just a tad bit more.
no, the second one she kind of goes with how we said like characters take on other characters' stuff a bit, which was the whole Daphne and Alien Invaders thing, or a bit of that. I think she does a little of that she takes a little of Daphne and Scooby Doo 2 of being the damsel in distress with Patrick.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
Just a bit of it,
Just a
yeah.
little bit. I mean, we talked in Witches Ghost how much Velma was taken from everybody else.
Yeah.
Um, with
Yeah.
roles.
My answer for Velma would be Zombie Island.
Uh,
Yeah, she's
I
very, very Velma
She's
in that one.
very
Investigative.
attentive, investigative, observant.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think again I'm torn between two because I'm usually always torn between Zombie Island and I'm torn between Scooby Doo 2. Actually, I think I enjoy Velma and Scooby Doo 2 more than I did in Scooby Doo 1 with James Gunn verse. And I think for me, I think Velma does go on a meaningful arc, I guess, within Scooby Doo that I really really appreciate, and I still like the culmination of how her arc contrasts with Shaggy and Scooby when they're both kind of being inverses of each other's arcs, where leads to why Velma looks up to them and why she has trouble trusting people and forming connections with people where they don't, and how that feeds into her arc of her looking up to them and seeing them as heroes. I really really love that. Uh, as as for like Velma's part of Velma's character in that film. And then obviously I like Zombie Island Velma because I agree with your assessment, Springs, that she's very very investigative. Um, but I might be I'm gonna go Scooby Doo 2 Velma mostly because of the character stuff in there for me. I think really really pushed my love of that character up. And bonus points I guess for the latex outfit.
All right,
um,
Daphne next.
Daphne next.
Let's go.
So we all agree not
One,
Alien
two, three,
Invaders.
Alien Invaders. Oh, okay.
Alien.
um.
Frank should
Oh
start this one.
yeah.
It's I'm tied between two because one feels more classical Daphne that I know of, and the other one is a different approach on her, but I do like it, and that's between Zombie Island and Cyber Chase. Cyber Chase feels more that classical Daphne and stuff, but Zombie Island is this more like mature difference onto her, and I think I like that change of her character, and it still fits within the group. So I think I'm gonna go with Zombie Island.
That's fair. I'll go next. I think my answer is probably the same. Funny enough. The reason the reason I like her so much in Cyber Chase is because it might just be the way we viewed the film as going from Alien Invaders to Cyber Chase, but I was paying particular attention to I guess in hindsight to how well they would utilize her in that film. So like it was her and Velma working together to kind of bait the lion or the Sphinx, whatever they're fighting in the gladiatorial arena.
The Lion.
Leo
Yeah.
the lion. Like it was them working together to figure that out. Well, Fred distracted it. So like I love little bits like that where Daphne's contributing to the group. Um and and then obviously you have the maturity of Zombie Island. And I now that I'm talking about it, I'm realizing what I liked about her in Scooby-Doo 2 was her still being a girl, and that's helping them. Like the whole the fingerprint scene when they're trapped in the Wilkes's
Black Knight's
base
Manor.
Black Knight's Manor. So when they were trapped in the basement, I really appreciated the fact that she was contributing to help that out. She was also vibe checking the group. She was helping guide Velma around with her love life. So there's in Scooby Doo 2, her role feels more like uh, she's the glue of the group. Like she's what's helping keep them together. Which is something I like going off of the first film in the Gunverse. And then Cyber Chase, as I said, I kind of like the banter that she contributes. Again, she helps in her own way, even if it's not as much as in Scooby Doo 2. And then Zombie Island is just a different portrayal of her, which is very mature. So we get a very, very different variety of
Yeah.
Daphnes in this.
In Alien Invaders, she's gone. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
another variation.
That's
Daphne who?
true. Uh, I
Don't forget,
man,
she thinks it's a wise idea to drop kick 10,000 volts.
yeah, that again, that is why I'm leaning away from Scooby Doo 2 and why I'm between Cyber Chase and Zombie Island. It was more of just a why I did like her a lot in that film, and while she has her faults, that is clearly a big one. I
Why
think
is no one
I'm gonna.
talking about manifesting?
I think Zombie Island is where I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna even ignore that. I think Zombie Island as well for me. I'm Daphne.
Okay.
All right, I will echo between Zombie Island and Scooby Doo
Oh, you didn't want
2,
to bring up
and
manifesting, Daphne?
no, I don't. I already did. Um, I think Scooby Doo 2 will take it for me though. Uh, I like her helping Velma out with Patrick. I like the fingerprint stuff. I really like the fight with the Black Knight. Yeah, her intelligence with the 10,000 Volcos, not great. But her little roll into Fred's a nice little scene. I pretty much liked all her moments in there. So yeah, I'd say Scooby-Doo 2 with Zombie Island is backup.
All right. Um, do you want to do Shaggy and Scooby together,
No,
or do you want to do them separated?
separate.
All right.
How about Amber?
Who?
Haven't heard of that.
uh, yeah.
Oh,
Um. All right. We'll do Shaggy first then. Uh, I guess I'll go. Since we've been
okay.
talking about it. Yeah. I think my favorite version of Shaggy is I'm gonna go Scooby Doo 2.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's again this comes to it being very very weird of going from a cartoon to live action, but the actor does such a great job capturing the mannerisms in a believable way in live action that it just added to the charm for me. And the whether or not they need to go on the arc uh at all is still in question, as I said in the actual coverage of it. I do actually like the ultimate conclusion of that arc for them to want to be here, like to realize they were heroes the whole time.
And I pretty much agree with everything you said. Scooby Doo 2 Shaggy. I really did consider P test tube Shaggy from Velma season 2, but well, there wasn't enough character in that one image to really pick
You're
definitively.
such a jokester.
So, hey, that's Shaggy.
Maybe.
Uh, and then Alien Invaders is like the most screen time dedicated. I don't know if it actually is, but it felt like it. It's more focused on Shaggy and Scooby, and it's just weird that even though they got a lot of focus there, I feel like it's their worst. It's them at their worst with what we've covered here, minus Velma.
Well, purposely put something in place to take them away from the team.
Yeah, and then let's not forget that stupid groovy song.
Yeah, they split the party. You never split the party.
But for love. They're so in love they can't eat.
Yeah,
which
huge.
is insane.
I'm in agreement though. Monsters Unleashed, Matthew Lillard. Scooby-Doo 2, I think, is the best. The added world of cartooniness uh, brings more life into Shaggy in that one, and I think it more so than the first one, because the first one, the love interest, again, it kind of goes off of Alien Invaders, and the love interest is kind of sidelined, but it's also the red herring, possible bad guy demon, and it kind of splits Scooby. It just didn't. It was okay. His jokes were fine in that one, but I think it's just more so better in Scooby-Doo 2.
Yeah, interestingly, I'm just thinking about this right now. I Is it weird to say that I think, for lack of better words, Matthew Lillard's portrayal kind of makes Shaggy's mannerisms more comical and exaggerated?
I could say that. Yeah,
Because I because I'm thinking about all the live action stuff we covered. I can't really recall a time where, like, Shaggy in of itself as a character was able to make me laugh, if that makes sense. Like, there's just an innate charm to the way he's playing Shaggy that I think is might be absent in his cartoon adaptations. And in which case, this would be an example of where I think they did a great job in live action.
Well, they don't have it in the cartoons where Shaggy gets punched in the face and says, "You're pushing your luck."
you're pushing your luck,
That's
Scoob.
exactly, like, there's none of that, which I think might damage, not damage, but like was what elevates Matthew Lillard's portrayal above the rest.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
Shaggy
he did a great
is.
job.
It's weird to say, but Shaggy is the most animated of the gang. I think. Like anytime there's a monster and he like does the running in place before puff of smoke, Matthew Lillard demonstrates that cartoon feel of Shaggy. I think more so than the rest of the group in that movie.
Yeah, I
Certainly.
agree with that. And last but not least, Scooby.
I think this is the hardest
Scooby,
one.
I've got mine. I'm Cyber Chase for me on that one. In particular, Cyber Scooby, I think, is my favorite Scooby here that we've covered on
The
this
brave
selection.
one.
The Brave one. I quite liked Brave Scooby. It was kind of cool to see it because it does happen in the shows. Scooby does get these sprouts of bravery and stuff. And it was nice to see that in this selection here. And even normal Scooby in Cyber Chase, I liked because he was the one that went after the snacks most of the time, if not all, which is usually in the face of danger of whatever's happening on screen. Uh, so I think that was a good iteration of Scooby, and he still has the hijinks with Shaggy and still has his comedic beats, but there was more layer to him being more brave in that one, and I like that.
Uh, I'm probably in agreement, actually, because for me, my biggest thing was is it had from the beginning is Shaggy and Scooby are cowards, but at the end of the day, when the chips are down, they're still going to show up for you, and because you are either their friends or because they need to help someone. And I think for me, the biggest demonstration of that in Cyber Chase was him to go help the pterodactyl baby on, a volcano that was exploding without even the guarantee of the Scooby snacks being there. Because he doesn't discover that until afterwards. Like, for me, that is one of the cores of the character that he doesn't get to show off as often, and that's fine because they're meant to be kind of cowardly and goofy in that way. But I pretty much agree with everything you said, Crimson.
Okay, this is an instance where I'm not in agreement with you two. I agree with what you
Oh,
said about Scooby, but I don't value the bravery trait of Scooby as much as the two of you do. I
hmm,
am more of a fan of the Shaggy and Scooby screw up in some manner that captures the villain or finds a clue kind of thing. And my answer for best Scooby, I think, is Witch's Ghost. I like the Scooby that is scared but can do cartoony, goofy things like the butter churner and the guitar. I had a problem with the scene because of the music, but just the joke thing of Scooby a dog being able to do that. Um, the constantly eating thing with Shaggy, the finding the boot buckle of a clue but didn't know it was a clue, it was just something, but led to it. And those are elements of Scooby that I like, kind of thing. And it also didn't do the whole, yes, there was the gopher that got him I think, more curious and mad because Zombie Island, the whole cat thing, I didn't like. Alien Invaders, the whole love interest, didn't like. And then Cyber Chase, I just wasn't the biggest of the bravery thing without guarantee of stuff. Like, he wasn't going for the pterodactyl, like you said, knowing there were Scooby snacks. It was just kind of to help the pterodactyl, which is good of him. But so that's where I lean. And then the live action ones, I think, are the first one's fine. The cartooniness added into the second movie, I think, make Scooby more of a dumb character for jokes, more for like the younger audience to laugh at how zany he is. And then unless you want to say Uncle Scoob and Velma 2, and I'll say that's a
Scooby
different character.
Project.
Yeah.
Just his name is in there, pretty much. That's it.
So I'll go with Witch's Ghost.
Oh yeah, that's
Alright.
totally fair pick.
I have two more things to pile on here. Favorite Scrappy, because we do have
We only
a
have
couple
two of them, huh?
iterations of Scrappy here. So, which Scrappy did you prefer in this selection?
Can I do the Scrappy and Zombie Island, who we know is in the world but we never see?
No, because
Okay.
it's not really a character at that point.
I
Just a name
don't
drop.
remember the other one. I only remember the Scooby-Doo James Gunn verse one.
Oh, you don't remember the Velma one?
Velma, where it was
Oh,
evil Scrappy.
Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Velma season 2. You're right. See, I just already
I know we
deleted
haven't
that
been
from my
talking
brain.
about it at
Yeah.
all,
Crimson.
really.
Crimson.
So.
I'm gonna go with the James Gunn one because it's not Velma.
Oh.
Velma had potential for me, but the whole twist of him trying to trick her by the end of it, like that sucked because it was obviously not well done as a trick.
Also being
So I think if
invulnerable
they,
and being forced to do taglines.
yeah. So I mean, there's
So
something there for the Velma one. And I just don't think they executed it right. Because I think the 2002 Scrappy is probably one of my least favorite parts of that movie. is so it's kind of tough to poor iterations of Scrappy, and some could say where is a good one, but I guess the
Boost
2002 one,
Brothers might be the best one, but we didn't cover that.
yeah.
I've never been the biggest fan of Scrappy at any point as a fan of Scooby-Doo. Needless to say, the portrayals this season really didn't change my perspective on that.
Well, they made him a
That being
bad guy in
said,
both.
yeah. That being said, I probably prefer Velma season 2.
Yeah, I can't blame you. There is something there.
There is
That's
something there, and for me,
positives.
I guess why I prefer that one is that it's not a. It looks like less of a joke.
Mhm. Not giant fat belly, giant
Yeah,
Scrappy.
that Scrappy is actually competent in his villain. It doesn't make complete sense how he falls, but at least they
He kills
tried.
the protagonist in Velma. He kills Velma.
He does kill Velma. Well,
Well, hey, doesn't that make him the
kinda.
hero then?
I don't know. Gigi's dad kind of launched the missile, so
Hell, we don't see if the missile kills her or Scrappy shoving her off the ledge killed her. So at the bare minimum, Scrappy set her up to die. At the bare minimum. Um. Oh yeah, and then the other one, Thorn, because we have two versions of Thorn, and I'm willing to
Witch's
bring up
Ghost. You're out of your mind. No
and I'm willing
contest.
to bring up Mystery Incorporated since we did cover that technically in the podcast, just not this season.
Cool. I'm
So
still
we have
going
three
with
Thorn.
Witch's Ghost.
All right. Right.
Yeah, I'm going with Witch's Ghost.
Really, Thorn and Velma not doing it for you guys, huh? Well, I agree. Witch's Ghost, I know, was a tough one, but
You
Well,
can
look,
talk.
I
You can
figured there was a
talk
through
me.
line.
You can talk me into saying Scrappy's better in Velma over the James Gunn one, more so than Thorn.
look, I
Yeah.
I prefer Thorn in Velma season 2 over everybody else in that show, but that's not really a contest.
Oh wow. I don't know if I could even agree with that. I liked
I
man,
like that they gave Fred
I
an
really
arc.
liked the character. I what was Lola. That was her name. I like Lola.
Yeah, that's true. I did like Lola.
Couldn't even remember her name. Oh man.
Uh,
Yeah, and that kind of touched on a question I had specifically for you, Ryder. This grand topic we just had was, what's your favorite version of Velma? Period. Not just this season, but
Ever?
in anything you've covered? Because we know you're a big Velma person, so I'm
In
curious what
everything I've
your
covered?
primary Velma is.
That's a good question. I don't have an answer for you.
Pup named
Uh,
Scooby-Doo.
I could typically, yeah, I know it feels like I'm copping out, but I could typically more easily point out Velmas I don't like and don't think they work well. Because I like obviously Velma season 2, terrible. Um,
Velma season 1?
and
Terrible.
yeah, even
Horrendous.
worse. Yeah. So I would have an easier time, I think, pointing out Velmas I don't like. Um, within all the stuff that we've covered,
I
um,
guess including Mystery Incorporated then.
Mystery Incorporated. Yeah.
yeah, including Mystery Incorporated and well, technically Velma season 1. Um, it might be Scooby-Doo 2 still. Not that I think she's like the best Velma archetype, but just the one that I like the most that we've covered.
Okay.
Sorry.
Ah,
Your answer in my head, I all I could hear was boing. Sorry.
I
It's
don't
really
actually get it.
really immature of me.
that's a good one. You don't get it, Ryder?
No, I genuinely don't.
Your
Oh,
favorite one is Linda Cardellini in the skin tight leather outfit. Boing.
Oh,
yoing like the door
Okay.
stoppers or
All right.
something getting
This
sprung.
to explain the joke, it's not funny.
got
It's
it.
fine.
Okay, all right. You're right. You're all are immature.
Yeah.
But okay. Respect your answer though. Got it.
Yeah.
Well, we have like 3 other things on the docket to do. We got the post poll, we got the critics on critics, and a segment.
Yeah.
How we feel about some critics on critics then?
Oh, it's a fan favorite, and you know what? I'm a fan.
I love that you try to say that every time, even when I beat you to the punch. I know how much you love it.
Did you beat me to the punch
So
this
yeah,
time?
let's do some critic on critics. Not this time, but I think the last 2 times I've beaten you to it. So critics on critics, there was a submitted review.
Oh,
Uh,
from a critic?
Yeah, one could argue, from a critic. Uh, it's from LetterBoxd by Julia. Very simple name. Thankfully, I can actually pronounce that
All
one
right,
correctly.
hang on, pause. Well, let's be clear here. Julia didn't send it in to us.
No, this is the reviewer.
I found a review that I then gave to Crimson for the recap.
Sprinks, you spoiled who gave this to me.
I'm sorry. I
It
want to
was
make clear.
open-ended.
I want to make clear. It wasn't Julia.
No, Julia wrote the review. 5 stars, 10 out of 10 on LetterBoxd. For Scooby-Doo 2002,
I think it was for Cyber Chase.
it didn't say in the review you sent me, so reading it, I just assumed it was. All right, for Cyber Chase, why are the late 90s, early 2000s Scooby-Doo movies better than most Marvel movies?
Is that question?
That's
That's the
that's
review.
the review they left.
Oh,
So, is this how should we break this down? Is
I
this
mean,
going from Zombie Island to the James Gunn #2?
Early 2000s would fit that. When did Cyber Chase
Well,
come out?
Cyber Chase was the last one. I think that was 2001. Either
2001.
2000 or
I
2001.
mean,
So if it's saying the
when
VHS
was
one,
Scooby-Doo came out 2006.
Okay,
Right?
my second question is my first question, I should say, was when was this review created?
don't
Couldn't
know.
tell you. It was not in the sent
There
image.
was no like date posted or
Not with what I was sent.
okay.
So this could be
Because
tackling X-Men 1, or this could be talking about Marvel of Endgame. Don't know.
Yeah, because if it's Marvel post Endgame, I absolutely agree with this sentiment.
You don't think a single post Endgame movie beats the 4 VHS movies?
uh,
Well, they're
the
talking in
closest
broad
is
strokes,
they're
so
talking
even if there
broad
was like
strokes here.
2, then in general it's still bad. Uh,
Yeah.
so
So yeah, the only two movies that I think would be better than what we covered post Endgame are the two Spider-Man movies, and that's it.
Wow.
did you have any more
Well,
sprinks
I'm
on?
thinking, I think Deadpool and Wolverine, I would say beats them all. It's close with Zombie Island, but I think I have Deadpool and Wolverine above that.
Man, yeah,
Then again, I'm just a
I
huge Deadpool guy.
yeah, I know you're a huge Deadpool guy. That's why I'm not gonna bash you for that.
But
um, I think I'm maybe no. I think Guardians 3 would probably be an equivalent to Alien
oh,
Invaders for
Guardians
me.
3 equivalent.
Yeah, equivalent. I know what
Oh,
I said.
you're so low on Guardians 3. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? My objective for Guardians 3 is a 4. I think Alien Invaders beats it out slightly because it causes less problems to the characters. And obviously I prefer my characters being less damaged, and I say that knowing Daphne's removable.
Yeah.
um and mind you, I really wanted to like Guardians 3 a lot, but I don't think it stands up. So I think on an on a broad stroke scale, I probably agree with the sentiment post Endgame. Before Endgame, it's probably more 50-50 to leaning Marvel, cuz Marvel has some when Marvel was great, it was really great.
Well, I went
Okay.
searching and I couldn't find this particular review to check the date on it.
You're taking
So
both as broad. Okay. What Marvel
Yeah.
movies does Alien Invaders beat?
Okay. Doctor Strange 2,
Okay.
uh Ant-Man
Black Widow.
Quantumania,
Absolutely.
Black Widow,
Okay.
uh Eternals,
Okay.
um, and oh man, I need to pull up a list real quick.
Shang-Chi. What do you think of Shang-Chi?
I think Shang-Chi's better
The
than
way
Alien Invaders.
I think I think Shang-Chi is the first third of that film was really, really good. I probably would put that above Black Widow. But then the rest of the film happened, so it fell to an equivalent. So that might barely edge out Alien Invaders for me.
And then there's
Uh,
all the shows. There's a lot of shows, but
I think.
well, we'd be
Well, yeah.
comparing that to
No, shows
Velma,
is too much.
so
Yeah. No.
yeah.
the only show
Trying
that
to
was going to be worse
think.
than Velma is probably Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I'm thinking of
Yeah.
Phase One, and I think Zombie Island beats Iron Man 2 and Thor, and that's it. I think the other
I th-
phases. I think the complete Phase One outbeats Alien Invaders, Cyber Chase, and Witch's Ghost.
I think Alien. Okay, now I pulled up a list. So Alien for post
Ooh,
Endgame.
and Hulk. Ooh, well, I am
Yeah,
high on Hulk,
Alien
but
Invasion. Alien Invasion beats out Thor: Love and Thunder.
oh yeah,
I,
Definitely beats out. Oh, what was the other one? I had another one.
it actually might be
Black
on
Panther.
oh, Wakanda Forever. Yeah.
Yeah. Um.
Haven't seen
maybe
that yet.
the
Yeah.
first Black Panther.
Uh,
No,
yeah. No. First Black Panther. I have issues with it. I do think that's better than Alien Invaders, though.
yeah.
Um. And then for Phase One. Um. No. They're
Oh
like see
no,
Phase
Phase One
phase.
beats Alien Invaders.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, that's what I was saying. I think Phase One would fall in line of. I think it's more equivalent.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
I'm looking. Thinking of Phase One, there are a lot of equivalents. I think for me, where to sevens, which is kind of our average for this season.
in my
I
head,
think
I think Alien Invaders is like on par with Dark World.
for Phase Two.
Thor: Dark World
Um.
is like on par with Alien Invaders in my head.
Okay.
maybe Iron Man
see.
3. No, Iron Man 3 might be better.
No, I have a particular hatred for Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
So I would probably put Iron Man 3 below Alien Invaders.
What if we compared it
Check out
to
my letterbox and compare my scores if you're interested, audience.
What if we compared it to the earlier Fox movies? Like, which ones beat the two Fantastic Four movies? I think Zombie Island beats both.
I think
Hmm.
I think
I like
Witch's
the Fantastic
Ghost,
Four.
Scooby-Doo 2, and Cyber Chase beat the second Fantastic Four movie. I think the equivalent with their Zombie Island beats out those three would be equivalent, I think, to the first one, relatively speaking. I'm not breaking down the numbers, and I think uh, Alien Invaders is probably equivalent with Fantastic Four 2, I think.
Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Alien Invaders is probably about the same or better than Elektra.
Ooh, I guess.
Uh,
I was trying to think if Alien Invaders is on par with Daredevil.
Daredevil's better, at least to me.
Mm,
The Netflix Daredevil?
No,
No,
the
the
Ben
Ben
Affleck.
Affleck 2003 one.
Oh, I forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah, Colin Farrell was Bullseye before he was Penguin. God, he's a better Penguin.
Oh,
I
so
never
much better.
miss.
Does Spider-Man
No, I like
3 beat any or
I
I
no?
think
like Spider.
Spider-Man 3
I
beats Alien
think
I would.
Invaders. I think Spider-Man 3 I would have above Witch's Ghost.
Yeah, same.
Spider-Man 3
Yeah,
Yeah,
with Tobey Maguire
yeah,
yeah,
above Witch's Ghost.
yeah.
yeah. And
Uh,
it's great to have that as a 6.5, so it's not.
for me that's a hot take. No, I don't think Spider-Man 3 beats Witch's Ghost for me. I think that's probably a solid 5, maybe lower. So I know it beats out Alien Invasion. I don't think it beats out anything else on this list though.
Okay.
Outside of Velma.
And the X-Men movies, there's like 10 of them. So I'll just say the
Yeah, I don't want to go.
whole VHS Spider or not Spider-Man, the whole VHS Scooby-Doo's beat Dark Phoenix.
There you go.
That's true. Like I said, painting with real broad strokes, I do think like I said, I agree with it being better than Marvel post Endgame. Before Endgame, I'm probably leaning everything's a little bit more equivalent with
I
the
mean,
ups
yeah,
and
but
downs provided.
before Endgame, Marvel was structured on their story. This is the big
Yeah.
question: if are these even connect? Like the structure of the story, even the James Gunn ones, like 1 and 2, they're everything is so, as you say, divorced from one another. It's difficult to tell,
Hmm.
even
I
when they have
did
post
go.
credit scenes.
Yeah, I did go back to Alien Invaders because there was a fact that Shaggy references Witch's Ghost with
Oh, when he's talking
Crystal,
to Amber, yeah.
but the audio was like so weird because they were far away. So I went back and listened. He does reference Witch's Ghost, so that was confirmed and cements my opinions that I stated when we did the overarching thing later in Cyber Chase.
Okay, you just wanted to
Because
double
I
check.
said depending on whether it was confirmed or not, I'd have a different answer. But now that it's confirmed, I'm definitive with what I stated. Are we good to go to the next review, or
Unless someone wants to throw
still
in another Marvel
talking with
movie.
Julia's? No, I'm good to continue.
I'm good to continue.
I am
All
also
right.
good to continue. Though I'm sure the audience would like to know our Marvel movie rankings now.
Oh, I'm sure. Check out Writer's Letterbox in 4 years.
Oh, okay. It's gonna
See
be
what I
like
Setting it up.
I'm like, you're such a prankster. Audience 500 subs on YouTube,
Hey,
and Ryder will
let's make
start
it
one.
faster than 4 years. Alrighty. The next one will be for Scooby-Doo Alien Invaders on Letterbox by Scream Queen. Gave that 3 stars, 6 out of 10. Crystal and Amber leaving Shaggy and Scooby is sadder than E.T. leaving Elliot.
Bullshit.
There, I said it.
No way. Absolutely
Uh,
not. I talked about it. I talked
time?
about it in the coverage. I don't know. Absolutely, I don't stand for that.
Crystal and Amber leaving Shaggy and Scooby is sadder than E.T. leaving Elliot. There, I said it.
Yeah, you said words. They're just not making sense to me. Can you please repeat?
It's just so
um,
sad, isn't it? Crystal and Amber leaving. The potential
It
love
is a sad
story.
scene that they make. It has no strength and oomph to it.
Yeah. One, well, its first failing is that it lacks John Williams' score. Second
Yeah.
failing is the second failing is like on a more legit level. I do think it works as a sad scene. I think they needed to do a better job of building their relationship in order to make that work better. Because they banter a little bit back and forth, and there's clearly feelings. But I
But they
think,
also cut the tension when they cut to Fred crying.
yeah, they gotta stick to their guns when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Scream Queen? No.
Springs is
Hard
not having that one.
disagree. Dissecting their 6 out of 10. Not really a lot to go off on the comment, but
6 out of 10? Sure. For Alien
For
Invaders?
Alien
Okay.
Invasion, yeah, it's not too high. I think it would be once we start reaching 7, 8 territory, that's a problem. But I think 6 is okay because it's usually a lower end of average for most people.
all right. Next, we will go to Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed on Rotten Tomatoes by Joe Utichi. There we go. Utichi. Joe Uchichi from Film Focus, because he's a critic, giving it a 22 out of 100 score.
Ooh. Okay.
If we're
Stretch for this
lucky,
one.
yeah. If we're lucky, films like Scooby-Doo 2 will become the exception rather than the rule. And the reason I picked this was I felt like if he viewed this as a 22, he must think it's bad. And I felt like Hollywood as of late hasn't been very good. So I think, according to him, we have been unlucky.
I would say, yeah. The exception, not the rule.
Is there
And
anything
this was
more to
written in
that?
2004. No, that was the
Oh, that was it? Like just the exception to the rule, 22 out of
Yeah,
100?
yeah.
It's a bit cryptic, and I think it's too low of a score.
Yeah, based on that, too low of a score, cryptic. Unless it's like, uh, on a ranking list where number 1 is the best and this ranks 22, that's more believable. That's
I'm
like a high. That's
Yeah.
that's a high. That's mid 80s.
I'm curious what they gave the first movie.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one. All right, we'll do Scooby-Doo 1, the 2002 live action.
Oh, is it Joe again?
From Meta.
Oh.
It is not. It's on Metacritic by Maitland McDowell, who gave it a 50 out of 100 from TV Guide magazine. As live action adaptations of cheap, unapologetically stupid cartoons go, this is top of the line. The cast is appealing, the set's brightly colored and fun to look at, the mystery as lame and goofy as any featured in the many inexplicably beloved Scooby-Doo cartoons.
They got a non-Scooby-Doo fan to write a Scooby-Doo review. That's what I
Yeah,
heard.
They got
sounds
a
like
non
cartoons.
they got a non Scooby Doo fan to give it as far as I'm concerned, a passing grade, a 5 out of 10. So I'm just gonna go, yeah, all right, that checks out.
Cool.
Them saying unapologetically stupid cartoons and lame and goofy cartoons
This
within
I
the
think
same
this is a
review.
critic who fights against having animated movies as a category in the Oscars.
Probably.
You know what? That's true. That's very true.
That does make sense to me.
To
So
which I
get this
say,
person out of here.
yeah, exactly.
Right. Scooby-Doo Zombie Island on Letterboxd with a half star, so 1 out of
Oh
10
my. Okay.
Oh, jeez.
A
All
memer.
right.
by
And
Scotty. I don't know. You can tell if he's a memer reading this review.
Crimson Scotty doesn't
The
know.
Scotty doesn't. Right off the bat, Scotty doesn't know. The fun of Scooby-Doo is that the monsters are not actually real, just an elaborate illusion. In this story, where the central mystery is real, with real monsters, Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Gang feel out of place. It's not entertaining enough to keep my interest, and the payoff falls flat when the zombies are revealed to be actual dead people who were killed by cat monsters. Also, it's a tired and offensive trope to see cats being evil and dogs being innocent. This film needs to grow up.
Um,
1 out of 10.
uh, yeah. I obviously,
Wow.
obviously, I disagree with that fundamentally. So the interesting part of this review that I kind of want to pick on is, as someone who also grew up mostly with the monsters not being real, it is a very different feeling to throw the gang into a situation where the monsters are real. That I kind of agree. It's different feeling. I experienced that pretty much this whole season, trying to it was one of the things I had to deal with going through this season. Because I'm used to the magic not being real, the monsters not being real. It was literally monster of the week, mask, whatever, take your pick. So I think that's the interesting part of this review. But I think he's there letting that detract from what I think the film does really, really well.
A 1 out of 10 with a credit of unentertaining is wild.
Wish he could have elaborated on the gang feeling out of place, because
Yeah.
there's not enough to feed on
Scotty,
why he
Scotty
feels
watched
they're
the
out of
first
place.
season of the '60s show, and then watched this. I went, this
It,
tone's way different.
It's
yeah,
not even the
it's
same things.
like I said, the game does feel different. It did to me, but it didn't
Yeah, I
feel
mean
out
they
of
feel
character.
grown up.
Scotty,
Yeah,
go
it
watch
didn't feel
Velma,
like
then come back.
Yeah, there you go.
reassess your 1 out of 10 when you're done with that.
And then the evil cats and dogs thing. Admittedly, it is a trope,
It
but I
is.
wouldn't say it's a worn out offensive trope.
Hey, I love the cat that O'Connell uses to scare the mummy off. Sorry.
Oh, good reference.
I'm a fan of Snowball from Stuart Little.
Wow.
You know, cats I hate. I hate the MCU cats when they eat tesseracts randomly. That was a
Oh,
thing.
Goose?
That's a Flarkin.
You know,
Excuse me.
last time I trusted someone,
I'm
I lost an
racist against
eye.
Flarkins, okay?
Whoa.
Oh man. All right. I have one more. We'll go with.
Alien Invader's better than
I have
Captain
more,
Marvel.
but I'll just limit it to one more. So, Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost on LetterBoxd with 2 stars, so 4 out of 10 by Geek Critic.
Oh.
Oh?
This played in my university film club in their theater, and they mostly host acclaimed and cinephilic films. And now Scooby-Doo be Doo? I don't know. WTF. I just went for the drink afterwards, to be honest. Very cliche, even for Scooby-Doo standards.
Which one is this for?
Witch's Ghost.
The review said, now Scooby-Doo be Doo?
Yeah. All in caps.
Take your drink and get out of here.
They did.
That's what they went for. I'm like, yeah, you're intoxicated. You need to leave.
I would say Witch's Ghost, the actual like town ghost, is pretty Scooby-Doo cliche, but I wouldn't say it's cliche comparatively to Scooby-Doo. I'd say it just fits in the mold of classic Scooby-Doo. Then the real part with Ravencroft, that's a whole different. That's not cliche within Scooby-Doo.
This gives
So,
me an idea. I now want to see if there's a film club on my university campus, and I want to I want to show them Scooby Doo, which is Ghost, and see how they react.
break it down.
Mostly
That
because
would be interesting.
what he's saying kind of to me speaks to the big disconnect that the Academy typically has with its audience. Like how most of the nominees are like movies that the general populace doesn't care about at all. They're all either super artistic. Like there's a reason why in the years leading up to like uh for lack of a better word, Lord of the Rings, E.T. lost Best Picture.
Wait, what?
Yeah, E.T. lost Best Picture as far as I remember.
Okay, not to Lord of the Rings, though.
No, not to Lord of the Rings. What I'm saying, I'm talking about the
Got
history
it.
of the Academy.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it did not lose to Lord of the Rings. Springs. But like Empire lost. Empire Strikes Back. Raiders of the Lost Ark lost. E.T. lost. There was a time in the Academy where they were very, very like, as you would describe as he described himself, very cinephilic group.
Drama
Uh,
bunch.
yeah. Well, that's not. They're very, very particular of what they accept at the
Yeah,
Academy.
it had to be the serious drama of the
Yeah.
real
They
emotional
usually come
tone
off
of
as
human
elitist.
life kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very, very elitist. So that to me speaks to the film group he hangs out with is typically elitist. That's how I interpreted that sentence and why he was like, because he's not used to them showing stuff like this in that group. And for me, that just speaks to one of the bigger disparities that happens in the film world that we are all a part of as either cheap seat critics or as, you get paid to do this because you are a movie critic because you went to school and studied film for 8 years and now you're doing this for a living. And there is a there is a just the disconnect that just is exacerbated by this, I think.
Mhm. All right, and that is it for Critics on Critics.
What a collective you have found.
What a
Yeah,
collection.
found a mix.
Didn't find a
Sorry, I
10 out of
didn't go
10.
anything for Velma. So no, I didn't.
Oh, a Velma season 2 10 out of 10. That would have been something.
Sure would. What all I could find was people saying to kill themselves. That's all I could find.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need to read out any suicide eulogies.
Yeah, don't need
I
that.
think that might be
So
off brand for us a little bit.
there weren't a lot of options for Velma.
um, all right. I will jump to, I guess, one of my questions for Sprinks then.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's following a little bit up on our discussion that started in Scooby-Doo 2, um, where we were talking about the fight scene
Oh,
choreography, the way it was filmed,
yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. So to kind of lay the groundwork for the audience, and to relay the groundwork for the audience, and for Springs, so you to correct me if I misunderstand where we standing, where we left off. Um, you view that scene as good because it was filmed in a creative way to hide what you perceive as a problem, so you view that as a positive in the way that they were trying to hide the problem, right?
Yes. Without a
Okay.
manner of knowing behind the scenes and to go in with my own um men, um how do I word it? Course of mentality, I guess, of the scene. For me, there's a purpose to reasonings of why something is the way it is. And I try to see those in positive lights because they got greenlit and approved and moved forward. So I saw this scene as the reason why it's shot this way is to cover up and hide potential budget or whatever for the Black Knight of the practical look of the knight without adding too much CGI usage onto it in shots. And
Yeah.
I thought it was
And
clever for doing that.
yeah. And we're obviously audience where we tend to frequently disagree, at least Crimson and Springs, they get into this more than I typically do with them, is that we Crimson and I typically don't try to ascribe like purpose to reasons that we don't have access to. I guess would be the best way to put it, right, Crimson?
I don't like to assume behind the scenes without evidence for me. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's just relaying the groundwork here. The follow-up questions I have, because we already have that indifference, so I want to move into some other follow-up questions that I had on the why aspect. So my first question would be if you found out that this was their choice and we got evidence for that, what would your take on the scene then be? Would it be trending towards worse then?
If
So like
what
they
I think of it is actually true, is what you're asking?
no, yeah, we'll do both.
Okay.
We'll say that if you what you think of it is true, how does that affect the scene? And if what you find out is they're not hiding anything, they just chose to do it this way.
If the first one, of what I think it is the reason for it, nothing changes for me because that's how I viewed it as. And I think that I'm like, okay, that explains my thought process on it. If I see something where it's like, no, it wasn't to hide anything, it was just to do this cool up and down idea of the camera shot, and that was it, then my score, it's a minor like one scene thing, but I would see it as a negative light for me. It's like, okay, that just seems kind of sloppy, and just goofy. That just not sloppy. It just seems goofy in a way because it kind of goes into my thing that I've touched on many times before. It's a one-time instance. There's not another time in the movie where, like, the skeletons slipping on the slide. There's some spinning camera effects, but there's no like top and then bottom and top and bottom like this fight scene or something with the camera. Um, so I think I would see it slightly in negative light because it's just a goofy thing in a goofy movie if it came across that way. If it came across in a way I know, like a behind the scenes or a documentary or something on the movie, and it explained this scene of not having to do with a cover up, not having to do with that, and it was actually the director's choice and went against the cinematographer's idea, and this is what the director wanted, like all these differences to it, depending on the reasoning to me would change my rating. Not necessarily
Okay.
a full like half a point because again, it's one scene and it's small, and I don't think that's enough to credit a whole point change because of it, but it would
Mhm.
be in a negative light. I don't know any way in my mind right now that would raise it positively from what I already think of it as.
Could
Okay.
you provide an example? Let's say it was their vision, they weren't hiding things. You said their reasons could determine how negative you could perceive it as. What would be the best case scenario of their reasoning?
Um, they wanted, it wasn't to hide the Black Knight effect. It was to show scenes of when the Black Knight attacks, Daphne looks very small against a big predator kind of thing. And then when she's good at dodging or fighting back, it's lower to make herself look bigger in the scene of attack. Like something explained like that.
Oh, interesting.
And if
Okay.
that was the provided reason, then you wouldn't see it as negative. It would be more a neutral thing.
It would be a neutral thing because it gives a reason behind the reason of it being shot that way.
Okay.
I okay. I just want to double check because another I have a potential couple follow up questions I guess within so focusing on just how I guess fight scenes are shot. I know you brought up Princess Bride, infamous for the sword fight scene between Inigo Montoya and Wesley. Um, uh, both of them are shot very, very differently, as far as I understand. Because I again, I'm more of the someone who focuses on the writing aspect of, uh, I guess both what would be going into the scene. So I don't really. This is a little out of my field, but that's my basic understanding is that
Yeah.
the fight in Princess Bride is a lot more steady. You don't have much of the dynamism that you do. You do get some close-up shots, and you do get some wide shots that show you the landscape on the stage when they're dueling.
Yes, that's one of the big differences is that was a stage fight of, you don't have a 3D space you can work with
Hmm.
opposed to the Monsters Unleashed one, which was a 3D environment.
And I guess my question is, since you brought that up and you want to compare, my guess is you wanted to originally compare the filmmaking between those two scenes, and I'm gonna guess that you prefer the Princess Bride fight cinematography.
Good so the reason I brought up Princess Bride in the coverage to begin with was A, it's something we've covered before, um, and B, it's something we're all familiar with. So I guess, hand in hand, but it's something to go with, and it's also a fight scene that I know of that's different. And I try to bring it up as example because Crimson was going not necessarily fully against me, just like differentiating and takes on the scene in Monsters Unleashed. And I brought it up as an example to see that the change or what that would feel like to Crimson of the two in comparison. But for me, I do see them as different, but they are also set in completely different movies. As I said, the possible goofiness of the camera movement in Monsters Unleashed fits the overall tone of the movie of being this more cartoony, goofy outlook. And in Princess Bride, I think the camera angles on Wesley and Inigo are far more for the craftsmanship and their skills honed as two swordsmen and how they can do fights against one another. There's and it's a lot of it is paired together. There's one where Inigo gets I won't say withdrawed. That's not it. His Wesley hits his sword out of his hand and it goes in the bush. So Inigo, goes on the rope and like swings over on
He has
the
to
branch thing to
tactically
get his sword. Yeah,
withdraw. Yeah.
to get his sword back. And then it goes to Wesley, who does the same thing, but like one ups it, but it's focused solely on him. It's not of both in a shot, it's one. And to me, that like shows that, okay, it's all about skill. It's all about showing who can one up, who's more talented. The Black Knight and Daphne fight doesn't feel like that at all. It doesn't feel like one's trying to one up another. It just feels like the Black Knight is trying to kill Daphne and Daphne's trying to evade. Even though Daphne does do some blocking with the I think it's a halberd she has,
Yeah,
or
Albert.
has both and is still trying to block, or when the sword's fighting on its own, it's a lot of defensive moves, which just changes the fight choreography style between both scenes. And I just think I do prefer the Princess Bride one over Monsters Unleashed, but it's not a high margin because of what they're both set in of their respective films.
Okay.
I'd like to tack on that the music heavily affects fight scenes as well. The
It does.
Princess Bride one has a more whimsical sound to it, with the way it's portrayed. Meanwhile, the Scooby-Doo 2 one is more of a serious, threatening tone to the music. And yeah,
And
Daphne's objective was to delay for Velma to find the weakness. That was her objective.
yeah, I have an
I
additional thing to tack
okay.
on
I
just
don't.
real quickly as well.
Yeah, for that, I don't know if I fully agree with the music in my head that of your two examples. I do think the Monsters Unleashed one is a bit of serious tone, but I think it also has a little more of that era of 2004, which I said of like the soundtrack kind of like vibe with the instruments used. I don't recall the Princess Bride one being very. What was the word you used for it?
Whimsical. It's like
Whimsical.
bram, ba, bam, bam. Yeah, it's whimsical.
Oh
I
yeah.
can picture the music in my head with that scene.
Okay. I guess for me, I
I mean,
wouldn't
it's
classify it as whimsical,
whimsical with
but
a dash
yeah,
of
there are parts though
what's the word
of the Wesley and Inigo fight that there is no music.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
The,
just their dialogue, impressive, blah, 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 so there's times where it cuts
the
out for the dialogue.
there is, yeah, to kind of go what you're saying here. I wouldn't call that the music for that Indigo and Wesley fight. I don't know if I would call it whimsical, but I would call it very very poignant. I guess it's accentuating the like the music can turn whimsical to accentuate the whimsy of the fight, like when they're swinging on the rope and Wesley's one upping him, and then the things like that. And then there's parts of tension too when they're just going back and forth, and you hear the dun dun, dun that sort of thing as well. But one of the things I would want to touch on to add on my quick note for this was the lack of music. The first fight that comes to my mind that we've covered would be Batman's first fight in Robert Pattinson's Batman, where he's fighting the gang with
On the
painted
subway.
faces.
Yeah.
In the subway.
Yeah. Um, so that one obviously lacks the fight, and that's after the big dramatic build up of his theme of in that film.
Yeah, the fear
Um,
of night.
yeah, yeah,
But again,
uh,
in full agreement, music does affect the fight scenes and the emotion onto an audience of what it goes with. And even your example, Batman, without having music, it does affect that scene of it. I mean, the Inigo and
yeah,
Wesley sword fight, if you put Benny Hill to it, completely different vibe.
yeah, it's true.
Mhm.
Uh, to then kind of I think get back to one of I think the things you might have been touching on. Um, there is an element of dynamism in the Inigo Montoya fight versus Wesley, Inigo Montoya versus Wesley fight, which is they're trying where the game is them one upping each other. That's the like subtext of what's happening in the fight. Like when they're switching hands, like because they're holding back at first, and they both switch hands to their dominant hand to continue the fight. And then obviously when they're swinging, and Wesley's being a little more flashy with it. Um, and then we can go to the Velma fight. In terms of the dynamism going on with that fight is predominantly uh built around Daphne just trying to delay the Black Knight while Velma's reading off the spell in the background.
Evasion. It's a lot of
Uh,
evasion.
y- yeah, it's a lot of evasion. So I think my thing with this is that if I'm basing it on, not, again, not touching this what you're doing, but if I'm basing the way they're shooting off of the dynamism of the fight, I think the one with Daphne and Velma kind of warrants it a little bit more because Daphne's having to move Velma around as a person as well on top of trying to fight. Um, Whereas Inigo Montoya and Wesley's fight is more, they're obviously both very skilled, but they're not busy like trying
Yeah.
to
Wesley isn't trying to
move
protect
somebody out of the way.
Buttercup the whole fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And no audience, of course, these scenes vastly different. This isn't a comparison of a 1-to-1 thing. It's
yeah,
just a difference in fighting.
yeah. My goal obviously here, Springs, is to try and get at, I guess, what makes the Wesley fight cinematography work more for that, whereas this one cinematography might not work as well. I guess with what you're. That's my kind of what I'm trying to boil it down to.
There isn't a shot that I can recall in the Wesley and Inigo fight that is questionable as to a difference of reason. Like, again, it's a stage, so you're not going to get the opposite angle of a shoulder shot to go into the production side of the scene. But there isn't. There are shots of
They're
multiple
not breaking the
angles though.
180 rule.
Yeah, but there's definitely multiple angle shots. Like there's one of like their feet movement in the sand. The swinging one of just set on one individual. The holding Wesley against the bricks, pushing him downwards. There's definitely different camera angles in there, but there's no 360 shot. There's no spinning movement. The camera is very stationary in the shots it has. As for the Daphne scene, is a lot of movement, pan shots, tracking shots, the upward, the down. Um, so it just seems like a lot more, not experimental, just a lot more creative in what it's going with. And to me, it just seemed more outstandish, comparatively to the rest of the movie of Monster Unleashed, where there doesn't seem to be a lot of camera angles that vary in that. Like, um, what's a good example? There are multiple angles of camera in the jousting match between Fred and the Black Knight, but there's nothing of like spinning the camera on
There's not a
the
drone view.
wheel or drone. Yeah, there is a shot of like kind of Fred's chest, like outlook of the pipe he has. But other than that, it seems like a lot of just kind of side angles or a little bit of tracking. So
Okay.
it just made the
The
Monster
car
Unleashed one
monster
stand out.
fight, though, has a lot of crazy camera movements when Scooby's on the fire extinguisher. Lots of camera movements fairly similar to the Daphne one. There's less cuts than the Daphne one, but it is still a dynamic moving camera.
You're right. It is very much a lot of movement. Not necessarily a lot of cuts though. So it is more of a following shot of Scooby. Okay, I guess it really just boils down to the end that I just think the up and down shots of the Daphne and Black Knight ghost just seemed off to me.
Uh, and I want to ask why, but I I get this is going to be very, that might be a difficult question to ask,
It
is why
is
they
because
feel off to you.
it's difficult for me to try and find more examples that I haven't already given to explain myself. Because I'm trying to think of something else from anything
Yeah.
that would go into that. That's just a
Oh,
weird kind of thing.
I'm recalling a top down shot. Actually, a couple shots. this is such a movie we haven't covered. So preface audience, Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith. There is a top-down shot of Anakin and Obi-Wan swinging lightsabers at each other when they're balancing on above the lava, and just as there are some undershots when they're balancing on a wire. I generally think those shots are more for the environment, I guess, to try and get the environment involved in the shot. Um, and honestly, it doesn't. It helps that you have John Williams' score and everything too. But
Well, yeah, the music to the scene. I have not seen Revenge of the Sith in a long time, but I can visualize slightly what you mean. I think the environment's far more. They don't.
then again,
Yeah, that's harder. I'm not fully fresh on that scene.
yeah, no worries. And this might be another thing too. But as I'm thinking of that scene as well, that also is not necessarily isolated to that scene. Like there is obviously you have the lightsaber fight between Yoda and Palpatine. You have Obi-Wan versus Grievous. You have Obi-Wan versus and Anakin versus Dooku in that film. So you've had at that point a few of those kinds of shots where you not necessarily beneath them, but you do get some over the head shots of just like following the choreographed fight and stuff like that as they go through the motions. Um and okay, let's see. I'll move to the Batman really quick, I guess. Um a lot of the Batman's cinematography is very steady. Um and it's usually focused on the Batman. Funny enough, as he's going through the scene. Um, so like the first fight scene with the painted faces. Um, it's I don't think the camera does any like spin around movements, but we do follow the character of the Batman, and obviously that's more steady. So um, I guess what I'm asking is ultimately is it your preference to have a steady camera angle of
Are
during a
you
fight scene, or
are you curious how engaged I like a camera to be in a fight?
yeah,
That's a very difficult question to ask because it just depends on the tone and vibe and feel of the world and film it or movie it's in.
okay. I'll leave it there. I think I do understand what we were getting at a little bit more. So
Yeah, like that
again,
Batman fight stands for a year one or year two, I forget, of Pattinson's fight and just kind of showing off what he's capable of. But a fight where, again, like very low music and just kind of not a one on one, but just like a punch kind of thing with very minimal camera.
yeah,
Again, just fits that introduction of the character. So, and
okay.
I guess the Princess Bride kind of also introduces Wesley of like his first kind of speaking role is that fight with Inigo.
hmm All right, all right. Yeah, thank you for I guess letting me dig into like what your preferences are for film. I
Yeah.
appreciate it as always, Sprinks. Uh, and again, uh, I understand. I think a little bit more. So that I guess I feel accomplished with that. So thank you.
To me, there is always a purpose for the reason of a film being filmed away, unless I am shown otherwise.
Okay.
Because it's not a one person decision. It's a film. It's a group decision of cinematographer, director, editor, actors. Everything is going into this. The lights, the music, the sets. So many people are hands on to create what we're looking at.
Yeah. I'd be
I
curious to
agree.
get. Yeah, I would be
Part where you and
curious.
I differ is just ascribing what to what. That's kind of how you and I usually split up on that sentiment.
I would be curious to kind of obviously we won't do that in this podcast, but if we ever do cover some of the later Marvel movies when they're already filming stuff without a script, where they don't have an idea of what they're doing. So there's no like pre-production. I'm curious to see how your I guess perspective on cinematography will change when it comes to that because
Well, we had a bit of that. If you want, well, I don't know
yeah,
how well I made it kind
Early
of clear,
days.
like, but the camera work in American movie is very different, and then the camera work in Blair Witch Project. Because if you're going with the example of like no script, but what the cinematography is.
Yeah, but I guess my point with that is that like there is supposed to be intent in the Marvel films. Like
Yes.
Blair Witch is stylized. American movie is stylized, whereas in the post production of Marvel movies, the later ones, they're filming without a script. Like where Michael Waldron is talking about them filming and he hasn't written the ending to
Was
Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness or whatever.
okay, well, we cover Multiverse of Madness. I'm like, how much of
Yeah.
that, like the music fight,
Well, no.
or
I'm not no. I'm talking more overall structure because you said that there's always a reasoning in film for you as your core until you're told otherwise. So when they're filming without a script, and so that theoretically, then their reason is gone because they're filming without preparation in a way. I'm curious to see when we cover Marvel where that line of yours gets pushed because there's a point when Marvel starts just churning out movies without scripts. And as far as their like production goes, and I know that factors into your rating.
it
We
does,
don't
but
need to
I
do that now
think
because
I know, but I think a script factors heavily more so onto your own rating than my own.
right. But my point with that is that they're writing without reason. They're filming without reason essentially.
Up to the day of start, yes. I would still say that even though it's not prepared or fleshed out, on the day is still made. Which does make it
Uh,
like they don't have record. Like it's like, oh yeah, we didn't have a storyboard for this, or the script wasn't done at this point. But like on the day of shooting, the director's still telling the cinematography and the actors of like the choreography that they want.
okay. Like I said, we'll talk about that more. I think when it comes up again
Yeah,
in the
when an
show.
example comes up.
So all right. So that is my big question for you, Springs.
Was it answered like
I
65%?
um, yeah. I mean, like I said, I was trying to get away from where we obviously differ, which is ascribing reason onto reasons that we can't infer. That I was trying to get away from that and go more to like I guess your artistic perspective. So yeah, I feel satisfied.
Crimson, you were gonna say something?
yeah, that I was ready to ask you guys if you were interested in post poll perspectives.
Not at all.
Not in
What
the slightest.
what else can we
All
do?
right, we'll move on to the next thing then.
Yeah, post poll perspective. That's new, relatively new. I mean, it was introduced in season
I
21.
also hear it's a fan favorite from
Oh, are you a fan?
last
Oh
season
man, I'm a
because
fan.
I'm a fan.
Oh, you guys. All right. Well, yeah. Post-pro perspective. We have. Well, funny enough, audience, we're gonna have 6, but we're going with 7 because we made a decision before recording. So you're getting 7. Uh, how post-pro perspective is, if you didn't see last season's recap, is on our YouTube end. We have posts which are just a voting, getting to know kind of thing. What do you think? What do you think other people think? Discussion in the comments if you want, of just some questions kind of things of like preferences. And then for a recap, we will take those up to a point. The 7 we have are as to date when recording, as fresh as we can make them. Doesn't mean they're dead or dead in the water. They can still change. We still look at them. If things change, if something else gets first place or something else gets dropped to 4th place kind of thing, we'll still see it. We could bring them back later. So don't think just because we've already covered them that they're dead kind of thing. So yeah, is there anything I left out?
Uh,
Sounds right to me.
sounds good to me.
All right, cool.
Take it away,
Uh,
Springs.
the first one we have of sorry, I'm trying to make sure this looks good. On the YouTube and Rumble side, the first one we're starting with is like pretty much all the way back from our Christmas Carol coverage. Well, we had one last one that we didn't really get to, which was what ghostly spirit convinced Ebenezer Scrooge the most to change, and this received a total of 4 votes as of currently, with the decisions being Jacob Marley, The Ghost of Christmas Past, The Ghost of Christmas Present, and The Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. There was 1 vote given to Yet to Come and 3 given to Christmas Present, making it a 75 to 25.
And
And
this isn't
lay?
an individual movie. This is like any all-encompassing kind of Christmas Carol stuff.
Yeah, for me, it depends on the iteration because I think, like in Scrooge, the first one we saw, the really old one, I think this was just called Scrooge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think he was changed by the second, but by past the most because he was already kind of ready to change by the time he reaches present. But overall, I think usually present is the one that pushes him the most. So I probably would lay my vote on that.
I would also put my
I
vote on
agree.
Present. However, I guess also in your example, the George C. Scott one of the 80s we covered, I think he was still fighting Present up to the point Present left. I think Yet to Come is what convinced him more.
In that instance, I think we talked about this on the coverage. It sounds like I'm about to repeat myself. For me, it was always like Present's job is to set them up for Christmas future.
Yeah. Well, Past is always information he already knows. It's stuff
Yeah.
he already knows it. Nothing's different. Present is showing him a difference. Actually, no. Present isn't a difference in the day. It's still the same day of what Christmas was going to be, without him changing.
Yeah, but he's showing him like the Marley family, how they really live. Cratchit, sorry, the Cratchit
Yeah.
family, how they actually live. So like there is still new information that's put onto him.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Present starts with new information onto Scrooge. I don't know any iteration where Jacob Marley is the first to change him.
No,
that's
pretty
true.
wild. It would make the ghosts redundant.
He just goes,
if Marley
you're
flipped
a
them.
spot of mustard. Get out of here.
To continue from last time, with most polls, I do participate because I view myself as part of the audience. So I was one of the 3 votes for present, and I agree with the sentiments you guys have provided.
Okay.
I didn't vote on every poll though.
Oh well, then we'll keep that in mind. The next one, which is the heavy hitter of the polls this time, which came in with 29 votes. Very similar to one we did in the last season, or the last recap. This question was, what film trilogy has the worst third film? Whereas previously we had what was the best third film. And our examples are The Dark Knight Rises from the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy, Back to the Future 3 from the Back to the Future trilogy, At World's End from Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy, so exclude 4 and 5, and then Army of Darkness from the Evil Dead trilogy. Whereas of the 29 votes, 45% was for At World's End, 28% Back to the Future 3, and a tied 14% to both Army of Darkness and Dark Knight Rises.
Seeing the results of this one, I couldn't believe. And it was so crazy to me that I felt like people misread the poll because I can't believe At World's End is the worst third in this selection.
Funny enough, I'm in agreement. At World's End, I think, is the most steady with its previous 2.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's in contention for being the best third in this selection of 4.
I will say, I'm in agreement. Yes. If this was what's the best third film, my vote would be for At World's End.
Yeah. I think I'm with you guys. We're kind of going against the grain of the audience in this one. I don't see World's End as a bad conclusion at all. So I actually quite like the film. My vote on this one, since I haven't seen Army of Darkness, is between my vote was between Back to the Future 3 and Dark Knight Rises. And while I have a lot of issues with Dark Knight Rises, I think I might pick Back to the Future 3.
Okay.
And that one's they're kind of close for me on those 2 as far as them being the worst on this list. Again, haven't seen Army of Darkness, so I can't speak to that one.
Crimson, did you vote for this one?
I did vote for this one, and it was for Back to the Future 3. And it's not just because I don't like the franchise, but comparing it to these options, it feels the most cash grabby out of all these. Like at World's End, it's kind of part two of the
Dead Man's
second one,
Chest.
Dead Man's
But
Chest.
if you put
And it
if you put the
okay.
three pirate movies to each other, how many people do you think would say the third one's their favorite? It's
I
kind of like
feel
the
like
Toy
with
Story
the original
question we had.
Pirates trilogy, I could see them being very even, like around 30% each. I can see them very even with
I
being
mean,
favorite.
I'll be honest. I liked Pirates 3 more than Pirates 2.
Yeah,
I can see
I
that
think everyone has a good argument to why it would be the best in the
Yeah,
three.
I think Pirates of the Caribbean 1 is still my favorite, but
Yeah. So I see them pretty even, I guess, to answer your question, Sprinks. And
okay,
in a broad strokes, I feel like a lot of people would
because
see
I would
each one
see
as
Back to the Future 3 and Army of Darkness being those that are so different from the first two movies.
yeah. And was it going to continue with my point was Back to the Future felt most cash grabby because as far as I can remember, and I've only seen it once, and it was a long time ago. There wasn't much at the end of the second one, right? It was kind of it was just fixed. Was there much of a lead up to the third one? I don't
Oh
really
no,
remember.
there was a lead up to the third one.
Oh, yeah,
Doc
that's
gets
right.
struck
The
by lightning.
over the hills out there. Um, but because it's so detached from the previous two films and plot, really, and it is so different in vibe, I feel like it's detached from these other ones. Dark Knight Rises, there's not much lead into it from the second one, but it feels feels justified in its place.
yeah, it
It,
feels
it
like they did the
doesn't
best
take
they could.
crazy
Yeah.
risks. I think it fits within the trilogy. Army of Darkness is different vibes inherently, uh, but it does progress the story laid out in the previous film with the being cryptic for Ryder.
You are, but your example of what you just said of Army of Darkness goes with Back to the Future 3, which makes me think you need to rewatch Back to the Future 3.
No, because there's more than just the ending of Evil Dead 2 that lays breadcrumbs for Army of Darkness. Back to the Future 3 is literally just like a Marvel post-credit scene. It's not
Oh, God,
it's not really anything.
no.
Yeah, from what I can remember.
Okay. Well, my answer, which may shock a lot of you, would be for Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, no,
Doesn't shock me at all.
yeah.
Okay. It's just like comparatively of the three films, like in my head thinking like if you put like the three pirate movies evenly, I can see that. I can see maybe a little more for the first movie, but evenly. Back to the Futures, funny enough, I think more would be for the first one, but I can see like 2 and 3 being even. Funny enough. Um suppose like back and forth. A lot of people don't like
I've
the
never
second one,
heard 3
but
being a popular one.
some people really like
Okay.
3 and the difference of it. Army in Darkness, I think, is more different kind of than Back to the Future 3, and I can see arguments for who likes which one more of the three of the Evil Deads. Dark Knight Rises, if someone said their favorite of those three movies is The Dark Knight Rises, I disagree, kind of thing. Like that's one. It's like I can't see someone fighting to say that one's their favorite.
Yeah, it's that's kind of how I feel about Dark Knight Rises, and not to say that all the actors did their work. Oh, but a lot of the issue is it was weird because that one is kind of where I felt that Christopher Nolan, as his directing style, he is very very committed to practical. Um, and that's a good thing. I view that as a good thing most of the time. I think that works for his filming style most of the time. Um,
I was
Dark Knight
about to do
Rises
the
for me,
Odyssey all practical, so
yeah, I'm looking forward to the Odyssey because I actually read the book and it's gonna be. I'll can nerd out about that after. But uh, but I for the Dark Knight Rises, I think it was the first time where I really started seeing, I guess, the flaws that come up with Nolan's preferred filmmaking style. Um, because it was more exposed in a certain way, I guess, to me with that film.
I know Nolan's Batman trilogy is very grounded and realistic of the characters he has set. And when it goes to choosing the villains, he has to very much make them set of the world. Like Ra's al Ghul, there is no Lazarus Pit and he's not immortal kind of thing. It's just like there's deception of who Ra's al Ghul is and how they play with that. And I think it was very good. Everyone fits. Bane, Tom Hardy kind of is the face of Bane to a lot of people, but that is not the Titan or Venom induced
Induced, yeah.
muscle guy. This is just a guy with a mask kind of thing. And it just didn't really stick. I understand, like, again, the realism of what his going approach was with the character, but it just didn't seem like the right character to choose. Of course, there's characters he can't choose in this world. Like, there's no way he's going to do a Killer Croc or Clayface kind of thing. But Catwoman, I think, was very good, and the Talia al Ghul thing was a bit lame. But again, just coming off of Dark Knight, it's not one-upping it. Actually, Dark Knight
Yeah.
Rises is actually below Batman Begins to me, so it's just...
Yeah, it's below Batman Begins for me as well. I kind of piggybacking just a little bit more before we move on because we have more polls to get through. I I wasn't really even thinking about that. I was thinking more of just like the terrible choreography he has for his group fights. Because I think the one-on-one stuff is passable. Like the Batman versus Bane, I thought that was a really good fight. There's some awkward camera angles to hide the fact that like he's not really getting punched every now and again. But the scene, but like the group fight scenes where he rescues Catwoman, and he's like he and Catwoman are fighting back to back on the rooftop. There's some mistakes in the choreography that are very obvious, and then the same again where he's rescuing the police, some very obvious choreography mistakes. Um, and it's one of those things where he just doesn't do choreographed fights very well, which works really well, I think, for him in the earlier films, but it didn't really work for this one because he kind of turned Batman into a bit more of a brawler, which is fine. It
needed training.
didn't needed more training. I think the choreography could have been sharper.
Yeah, Batman can
That's,
fight
that's one
better
of the
after he,
yeah
stretches his back.
yeah stretches his back, gets a robotic knee brace. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So, audience, I don't know what you're thinking of with World's End. I don't know why that one
Yeah.
won. Yeah.
Ditto.
The Maelstrom battle is amazing, and Cutler Beckett's explosion of his ship is one of the most cinematic looking shots ever.
Yeah. And
It's
then
so cool.
the entire trilogy building to Jack Sparrow having to give up his wanted immortality to save a friend is great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and the love story of Calypso and Davy Jones is it's great.
My favorite shot of that film is still the slow pan over the Black Pearl as the Dutchman, and as they're in the whirlpool and the Dutchman is just laying into it, and you get the cannon that flies over the crew because they took a direct hit. And it's just slowly like reaching Barbossa's like there's no turning back now is pretty much what he says. You'll be too late to alter course now, mateys, I think is what he says. I think that to me was like, all right, I'm here for it. I remember that in the theater so well. And I'll just take Jeffrey Rush yelling at the top of his lungs any day. He's a good
Yeah.
actor.
Doing the marriage on the boat. Oh, yeah. And Crimson and I have had a scuffle about it before, but At World's End introduced Up Is Down, which is top 5 Hans Zimmer composed pieces of all time.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
I need to re-listen to that one again. I don't know if it'd be on top
Crimson
5.
was so against me when I brought it up the first time, so
I'll need to listen. It's been a while since I heard that track. But I don't disagree with you right now.
All right, anyway, moving on to number 3 here. A little bit of a Harry Potter theme, which received 7 votes. If you had the opportunity to have saved one, who would you have chosen? With the options being Albus Dumbledore, Severus Snape, Sirius Black, and Dobby. There were no votes of the 7 for Dumbledore or Dobby, where 86% went to Sirius Black and 14 to Severus Snape.
Yeah, I would say Sirius Black. I was surprised you didn't put Lupin. I would have voted Lupin.
I
A lot of characters died in the
there was a
that's
lot.
true.
I wanted him kind of even tiering of characters. And audience, a little hint, hint. I kind of have a list of other ones saved, but I thought this one was kind of even of them.
Yeah.
Because I
I
know a lot of
think
people say Dobby's their favorite character, kind of thing. Whether that's jokey or not, but I'm like, okay, because
yeah.
of that, I'll put him in.
I
So
mean,
I'm
these
a
are all
serious
heavy hitter ones. Like Sirius Black was the big death in 5. Dobby was the big death in 6. Or
7.
no, yeah, 7. Dumbledore was 6. Snape, I don't know if I'd say he's the biggest in 8, but he was a big one. But the other, like Cedric, would be in 4, but Cedric I don't think is on the same level as these guys because these guys are established. Cedric's only in that one film.
yeah.
They're all very
Again,
impactful deaths. Severus Snape's definitely benefits from the memory after.
yeah.
Really strengthens that.
I'm
Sirius Black, the
I
screaming in silence.
yeah.
What a
That's
great
one of my
decision.
favorite scenes ever. in
I'm trying
anything.
to think of which one's the most tragic, and at least for me, I tend to go with Sirius Black because Dobby died during, like he died in like what's it called? Uh,
Malfoy Manor?
he
Or
yeah
The
he
teleport,
yeah.
yeah Dobby died saving Harry.
apparating. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then Snape died in the line of duty. And then
Well,
I'm used to the mentor. I'm used to the mentor dying.
yeah,
When I say Snape died in the line of duty, he's still playing his role.
he is, but Voldemort said, like, you have to die in order for the wand to accept me.
Yeah, and he would
Well, duty
know.
to Dumbledore, not duty to Voldemort.
Yeah, he's still dying. What I mean by dying in line of duty, he's still playing his role as a spy on behalf of Dumbledore. Like he is the inside man. He is playing that torn up
Yeah.
soul really, really well. Both Alan Rickman and the character. So I view his death as a necessity to keep like the secret of who's actually the wand's master. Um, and then that goes into uh oh no, I forgot his name. The first one,
Dumbledore.
Dumbledore. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm used to the mentor. I'm used to the mentor dying. So I kind of took that one with like not necessarily tragedy, but again, it's he's dying to cover for uh Snape. He's dying so that Snape can perform his duty to the best of he can of his abilities, even if it's tragic to Harry. Um, so the reason I vote Severus Snape is because, yes, while he dies in the line of duty, it's a cheap shot. Like he didn't make the choice to commit to that. Almost, that's what speaks to the tragedy of that character, and it's also Harry's like only remaining family, really.
wait, okay, you meant Sirius Black.
Yes.
You
What did I
said
say?
Severus Snape.
Damn. Yeah, yeah. I meant Sirius Black. Yeah. So Sirius Black's my vote, and that's why.
Okay. I'm also in green Sirius Black. Sirius Black at the Battle of Hogwarts would have been so cool.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool.
Especially
Yeah.
back to back with Lupin, like the Marauders fighting off, that would have been cool.
There was
Oh,
a
that
shot
would be
of like
great.
Ghost James back to back with them or something.
Yeah. There's
I
a
don't know
yeah,
about Wormtail because Wormtail just disappears.
Nah, who cares?
yeah.
Oh, if
But
he
yeah,
was there
I
at
would
the
have
battle and they're fighting Wormtail,
Yeah, there you go.
oh, that would be good. Like there's a lot you can do with if Sirius Black was still alive, there's a lot of payoffs you can give
yeah,
in episode 8 with him holding that with Lupin and you know,
yeah. And then you could kill
uh
him there,
yeah.
but
I mean it's Gary Oldman, and for me, I just want to see Gary Oldman act because he's just that good of an actor. I would love to see him like sobbing over Lupin and his wife.
and in an 8-movie franchise, he's in 2.5.
Yeah.
If you want to count the Goblet of
Yeah,
Fire scene.
yeah.
Okay, well,
So
my vote. So we all said Sirius Black.
Yeah,
Okay,
I did vote in the poll for that one.
gotcha. Next one, which is a slight two-parter of which received 11 votes, what robot has the best design? And this first one was all animated, of the options being the Iron Giant, Wally, Baymax, or sorry, Iron Giant from Iron Giant, Wally from Wally, Baymax from Big Hero 6, and Roz from the Wild Robot, where Wally came in the win of 45%, then Iron Giant of 36, and Baymax and Roz both tied at 9%.
Ooh, iconic.
What
Best
robot
design.
has the best design?
Well, like design.
Yeah,
So we're talking like how the robot functions, not necessarily
how they look.
how they look. Okay. So not how they
That's
function, how they
visual
look.
design.
Yeah, not
Just visual design.
functionality.
I think Wally and Iron Giant have the best silhouette. So like if you gave me a silhouette of them, I'd be able to spot them immediately, which I think is
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
yeah. I'd be able to tell who the Iron Giant is and Wally is just by the silhouette of them. So I think those two win it for me on this poll. I'd probably lean Wally due to bias. But damn, it would be difficult for me to choose between Iron Giant and Wally.
Yeah, I voted for Iron Giant because, all things considered, he's kind of a generic robot, yet he still stands out as being unique. I think they found a great balance between delivering a robot and not making him
The
generic at the
the
same time.
visor, or whatever that's called, the gosh,
Fin on his
the
head.
yeah, the
The
fin on his
fin on
head
the
and
head is
shoulders.
really yeah,
Yeah,
those really help to identify him if it were just this plain
It
silhouette.
is, but it
So I
really like gives him like a 50s look. Like those like old like
yeah,
comic looks of like aliens or robots kind of thing.
which is very fitting, I think, because it's kind of making fun of like the movie makes fun of the overbearing government.
Yeah. And I think
I mean,
my vote personally, I think is for Wally, and it's just for the sake I think that Wally is the most non-humanoid looking of them,
yeah, he certainly
and
is.
how expressive he can be without like a face.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yes, I can
For
agree with
me,
that.
Baymax, he is identifiable if you look at him. He's like, oh, okay, that's Baymax. But he's very simplistic, which is fine. You can have simplistic robot design. But I did like the silhouette example Ryder gave, because if you gave the silhouette, Baymax turns into like 100 cartoon characters with just that silhouette, just a rounded, bulbous body. It's not very identifiable. Then Roz, I haven't seen Wild Robot yet, even though you both say it's really good. But this is a good example to me of a generic looking robot.
Of Roz?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It works. I love Wild Robot. I do think her design is great for the movie, but in terms of iconography and robot design,
It's very
I
simple.
don't think she stands. Yeah, I
Like
don't think she matches
I
it.
feel like I've seen this in like 100 indie games. This robot.
I see. Okay. So it was two Wallies and one Iron Giant, is what we settled with?
Yep,
Okay. Well,
sounds
that
like it.
pretty lines up with what we have.
Pretty
I was one of
much.
the Iron Giant votes.
We'll now swap it to again, same thing, kind of like what robot has the best design, but these are all from live action films, which this one received 8 votes, and the options being Tars from Interstellar, K2SO from Rogue One, Noisy Boy from Real Steel, and Marvin the Paranoid Android from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Being a tied 38% lead of Tars and K2SO, then a 25% to Noisy Boy, and a 0 vote of Marvin.
I'd be impressed if anybody knew who Marvin was. As someone who actually watched
What?
that film,
Marvin's iconic
it's,
to that movie.
I
I
agree.
feel like he's more of a depressed robot than a paranoid robot.
Well, some people could be a little biased and say he's not a robot.
Hmm.
um, I'm not surprised where this poll went. K2SO is one of the best things to come out of Disney Star Wars since their tenure began.
That's Alan
Um,
Tudyk, right?
and it's Alan Tudyk, which helps immensely. And he does make other appearances too, like the robot. I mean, not necessarily K2SO, but the robot itself makes other appearances in Andor,
Model.
and you can see it in the Mandalorian as well. The robot,
Yeah.
other variations. I mean, of the design. And then when it comes to Tars, Tars is very unique. Um, and I think one of the reasons I like Tars so much is because it's not human the way that moves around at all. There's no human expression. Like even on droids in Star Wars, like BB-8, you can sort of get an expression from the robot by looking at the robot as it's reacting to characters in the scene. You don't really get that with Tars. Um, I'm torn with the two first places one. I don't actually have an easy vote for this one. So
Okay. Crimson, would you like to describe what you like about Tars?
Um, his death,
Okay.
not the sacrifice.
shots fired.
No,
Jesus.
I don't like the design visually. I did like the personality of Tars. I will make a distinction, but the actual design of the robot, I don't like. I think it's over engineered. I agree it's unique, but I think it's too much. Therefore, I don't like it. I voted for Noisy Boy because I think Noisy Boy is awesome. I really like Real Steel. I played the game on mobile devices. I think they made a actual console game, but I never played that. But and Noisy Boy to me is very visually cool. I like the yellow and purple, and I think they go so hard on a robot that's barely in the movie. 'Cause
That's true.
spoiler alert for that movie, he gets dispatched quickly. um, so I think it stands out as being unique, even though it's not even like the main robot of the movie. And I could argue with a
I
lot of the robots in Real Steel are pretty
Yeah.
distinct.
Crimson, I don't agree with your take on Tars, but my vote would also be for Noisy Boy. I think that is such a cool looking design.
Yeah. That looks like a championship robot, which he was.
Yeah, but he was just
A
piloted
retired
by
championship robot.
a bad.
Someone who didn't practice with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Uh,
that pretty lines
Ryder,
up.
have you seen Real Steel, by the way?
No.
Oh,
But I have seen Noisy Boy, so there is that. Like I do know what Noisy Boy looks like because I've seen a lot of. It's a movie I haven't seen, but I've seen a lot of the merch. I've seen a lot of the
stuff.
designs for some of the robots in that. Yeah, yeah. So given thinking on it, I'm probably gonna pick K2SO, but again, that's probably my Star Wars bias.
Okay. We'll go to poll number 6, which was this is interesting for me. Which of these 4 composers is the second best, which received 5 votes? The options being John Williams, Alan Silvestri, Danny Elfman, and Hans Zimmer, where John Williams got 3 votes at 60%, and Danny Elfman got 2 votes at 40%, with 0 going to Alan Silvestri or Hans Zimmer.
I mean, I'm just gonna scratch out Danny Elfman. Um,
What do you mean by scratch him out?
I mean, like I wouldn't even consider him as a second best.
Okay.
But the first best.
uh, no. I don't think he makes my top 5, to be honest with you, if I'm
Oh,
recalling his scores correctly. But going based off of what I have here, John Williams, easy second. He would. It's interesting that you phrase the question of who would go in second place. I That means to me with my options available, I can only put somebody as high as second place. I'd probably put John Williams as number 2.
well, do you have Hans Zimmer as number 1?
No,
Do you have Alan Silvestri as number 1?
no.
Writer, of this
I
list of 4, you're 1, 2, 3, 4. Who's number 2? That's the question.
Oh, just with this list, not
Yes, these list
overall.
of 4.
Okay. Uh, then Hans Zimmer would probably no, 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 no. Wow. I don't. It's weird for me because I only have John Williams in my top 5 of these 4.
Wow.
Yeah. So I might.
To me, John Williams is
Probably,
number one. Easily number one
yeah,
of this list.
yeah. John Williams oscillates on my personal list for soundtracks and composers between 1 and 2. So he would be number one on this list for me, but the other three don't really like register on the top 5 of composers for me that much. It might be Hans Zimmer due to saturation, followed by Alan Silvestri. Then, so Hans Zimmer, I guess, would be my pick for number 2, and Alan Silvestri would be my pick for number 3.
Okay. I would have John Williams 1. I would have Hans Zimmer as my number 4. It's tough who I'd choose between Danny Elfman or Alan Silvestri because I like them both very much. They have really good scores. I think I would go with. Oh, it's so tough. So I'm gonna have to go with Danny Elfman. I think it's very close though. But Danny Elfman did Batman '89. He did Spider-Man, and I think those are really hard to have. I mean, Alan Silvestri did Avengers. He did Back to the Future. He did Ready Player One. He did Mouse Hunt. I think he's done a lot, but he did Polar Express.
If you'd like me to contribute to Dan Elfman, I'd like to remember that he did 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh, that's cool. Haven't seen that movie, but merit under his belt.
I don't have a horse in this race because to me, I don't care with composers. I don't acknowledge really any of them. Obviously, like John Williams is like Star Wars, right? So there's some names I can tie to certain
There's one, yeah.
properties, but
Jurassic Park.
yeah, I mean, it just comes down to I don't watch movies to listen to music. I watch movies for the stories, and the music just accompanies it. I don't think I have any of these guys' works in my music playlist. Um, just
You don't
for score.
you don't have the Jurassic
Uh,
Park theme? That's kind of weird.
no,
Just a little.
I mean I like it, but it's just the music is just a side piece for movies for me. So it's not something I pay attention to. So I didn't vote on this one because I didn't have a horse in the race for it. I would have to look
So
up their lists. And to me, with music, there's a lot more goods and bads with them opposed to like a director with a movie. You're gonna have a lot more songs than movies with somebody. So you could have somebody that makes 3 movies, and with such a small pool, you could have 3 great movies, 3 bad, some good, some bad. With songs, you can pump out a lot of songs just for 1 movie, let alone for several movies. And the more selection, the more duds potential, anyways.
Yeah. I think
So
uh
giving somebody high props for, hey, you got good music, that's ignoring a larger pool. And I haven't listened to all their stuff, so I don't feel like I
Crimson,
can give them any credit.
you wouldn't be interested to go to any one of these 4 in concert?
I mean, I've only been to 1 concert in my life, and it wasn't for a group I had ever really listened to before. So I wouldn't be opposed. I wouldn't be like, "Hey, I'm not going." But it's not something I'd be like, "Hey, Alan Silvestri's uh going to have a concert. Do you want to go by yourself?" Like, no. Do you want to go with me? If my schedule's free, sure. Oh, sure, why not? That's not something I'd be hunting for.
Okay.
yeah, it's not. It's kind of an off branch, I guess, conversation that you and have had before, Sprinks, where we were talking about how a composer could make theoretically the greatest score of all time, and then just not do anything as good as that for the rest of their career. You know.
Well, a lot of people would say that with Alan Silvestri with Portals from Endgame.
uh,
People don't think he
I
can
would
top
say,
that.
yeah, I would say that with Howard Shore for his Lord of the Rings work.
Oh, concerning
So
hobbits, absolutely. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
uh, so yeah, there's definitely like elements of that where they have done amazing work for like a film or a trilogy of films, and then they just can't top that. And then there's also the level of like the rest of their music just doesn't compare. You know
Yeah, but I kind of have that a little with Williams, where it's like everything Williams makes is great. Since like
that
Superman, like people are like, "Oh, this top Superman." I'm like, Superman's on par
yeah
with like everything else he does. He's so
yeah
good.
he's just consistently great. I agree with that. I think my issue with Williams would just be picking a favorite.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's very very subjective. Like, what fucking song did I grow up listening to the most?
Yeah.
Um. All
Which
right.
audience again goes into my second favorite movie of last year, which was Music by John Williams, the documentary.
That's right.
Anywho, last poll predict or perspective, not prediction, post poll perspective of we reached 100 subs on YouTube. Way to go. Woo. Thank you. And we put out a poll of asking, because we hit, we'd like to tailor a custom video for you of like your preference kind of thing. And the first poll we have is trying to narrow down what it would be, of the topics being vampires, cowboys, baseball, and aliens. Kind of going with vampires from the Twilight, like the big heavy hitter we have. Cowboys from Apple Dumpling Rides Again was one of our top viewed videos ever. Baseball from the baseball season, maybe you wanted more of that. And aliens, just to throw something else in there, kind of like a different mix. See what you think of that. Um, this poll, this is the most recent one we have here, comparatively to the rest, where everything gets additional weeks of time. Um, and this one only has 2 votes in right now, currently on the YouTube end. However, this poll also went out on our Twitter, our Blue Sky, and Facebook. So on the YouTube end, the 2 votes were 1 for vampires, 1 for aliens. Facebook had 1 for vampires, making vampires at 2. Um, and then Blue Sky didn't have any in it. Kind of hard because Blue Sky doesn't do polls, but comments still open. And then Twitter had 1 for cowboys and 1 for aliens, leaving a result of 0 for baseball, 1 for, what was it? What I said? 0 baseball,
Cowboys.
1 cowboy, 2 alien, and 2 vampire. Which I guess
Yeah.
then goes to the 3 of us to decide the winner, which will then result in another poll of 4 options from that said category of winner for you, audience, to decide on, to choose. I know I just realized I'm saying all this information to explain what it is, but by the time this recap comes out, it's already going to be done.
That's all right. It just adds context for the future, I guess.
True.
Uh, all right. So
There's
do
will be more
we
to come.
want to count down and just say which? And it should be between the 2 tied ones, right? We shouldn't. We should exclude Cowboys and baseball.
Yeah, it's not going to change anything. Like
That way, we actually have a
baseball's not going
definitive
to win.
answer.
If we all said cowboy, cowboy would win.
Yeah, I'm just worried about one person saying cowboy, one saying vampire, and one saying aliens, and then it's a tie.
It's a tie
Still
again.
with
Yeah, no,
aliens.
We'll
So
go with vampires and aliens are the 2 right now in the lead, right? Yeah.
yeah, those are the tied. Aliens and vampires. And I think we should just say them at your vote out loud at the same time.
Okay.
Is that
All
good?
right.
Good way of
Can
doing
do.
it?
Count us down.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Aliens.
Vampires.
Aliens.
All right. Well, aliens seems to be the winner for the next part breakdown, I
Yes.
guess.
It will then
Yeah.
compile of. Should we do 3? I can make it 3 to do 3 alien movies, or do we want to throw in a 4th one?
I'm fine doing 4 just to give more options
Okay.
for
Yeah,
people.
we'll throw out
There's a lot of
4,
variety of alien films out
and
there.
they can have until next recap, I guess.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what? Sure.
All
We will
right.
decide the answer come next recap. You want to do that?
Yeah, may as well.
Pretty far in the future, I
It
suppose.
is.
Okay. All right, cool. And that one's very short. Just hey, Next one's going to be Alien. We'll give you 4 Alien movies to decide, and that'll decide on our coverage. But it's voted by you, the fans.
Yeah, for our big 100 sub achievement.
Now
And I
remind me.
guess the 55 and Rumble, because we don't
Yeah.
want to forget those guys over there.
Now remind me. What were we doing for this season again?
Scooby-Doo.
Oh yeah.
It's been so long.
It's been a bit.
Was that the answer you were looking for? Or
No, that was my terrible segue, Springs.
oh, I see. The segment. That's what you're asking.
Oh, is it? All right.
I don't know what you're playing at. What's your segue? What are you doing?
My what I'm playing at is just pulling us back to on topic.
All right, we'll go back on the odd topic of Scooby-Doo with the segment, which is Scooby-Doo themed.
Heyo.
Heyo.
It's been a while. I should have done information of when we last did it, but we're going back to lineup. We haven't done a lineup in a long time, and we've only done one. Do you guys remember lineup?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, lineup. Last one, the one and only we've done, which was like 10 different characters' outfits, and we had to like blindly rank them. Like I'd give you one, and then you'd have to write on a list where you want that outfit to go.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm gonna have to pull up my phone for this one.
Yes, this one I'd like you both to compile a list of 1 through 12. This will be a lineup 1 through 12, and I will give an answer, and you need to write it in on your list, and that's where it's going to stay. You can't move it. And once all 12 are said, then we'll go down our lists of what everyone has something at. Okay?
Alrighty. Yep.
Do you have your list ready?
I have 1 through 12.
I'm making the list right now.
Cool.
But you can start. I'm just
right.
putting numbers in.
Now, remember, you might think you know. Don't automatically just start right. You write it in one at a time. Okay?
Mhm.
No jumping. This list of lineup is the 12 songs from the VHS Scooby-Doo movies.
Shoot.
Well, I already know what's going in number one.
Well, yeah, that's why I said no jumping around. You wait. We're going to start with Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air from Witch's Ghost.
Starting strong here, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
This was the last song in Witch's Ghost.
Yes.
Not the introduction song.
Yeah.
We may look bad, but we don't care.
We don't care.
Yeah.
Okay, good?
Yep.
Then next song. We're going to go with the Scooby-Doo Where Are You at the beginning of, or not beginning, but the rendition of the theme in Alien Invaders done by Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Okay.
Shoot, I don't remember that one.
It's like the more techno pop.
Yeah.
One. What should I write? That's so long. Where Alien Invasion. That should be enough context clues for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing. Just gonna put Alien Invasion.
Okay. Next up, we have The Ghost Is Here, the first song from Zombie Island.
Okay.
This is the montage one.
Yes.
Yeah. What was it called again?
The Ghost Is Here.
We were here. Ghost is here. All right, got it.
Okay. Next one, let's go with How Groovy from Alien Invasion.
Alien Invasion had some heavy hitters.
Oh man, yeah, he's wiping the floor with the competition.
Okay. Let's then go with Hello Cyber Dream from Cyber Chase, which is the one kind of the montage of them jumping from like level 3 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, ready.
Okay, I'm just hang on. I'm doing the list myself as well. So.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Next up, let's do the Scooby-Doo Where Are You rendition from Witch's Ghost by Billy Ray Cyrus.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
It's not fair that you can see the list. You can tailor it.
Well, I'm going one at a time as well. Let's do the aliens are here from Alien Invasion. Which is I don't know what to call it, the chase scene where we're on their scooters and they go down the mountain thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember just the chorus.
Okay. Next up, let's go with Hex Girl from Witch's Ghost.
Their intro song.
Yep.
I'm a hex girl, and I'm gonna cast a spell on you.
Next, let's go with
Yeah.
the
Might have been
Scooby-Doo.
outing myself.
Well.
No, I was saying I might have been outing myself over the scene and saying what was on my Spotify.
Yeah.
Next, let's go with Scooby-Doo, Where Are You from Cyberchase, done by the B-52s.
Shoot, I'm trying to remember what I said with the podcast so I don't contradict my answer.
Ooh. We only have 3 left at this point. Let's take a slight break. Ryder, what numbers left do you have?
1, 4, and 6.
Okay, Crimson.
167.
Okay, I have 1, 3, and 8.
Why is everyone saving ones?
Because we
Well.
all know why.
It might-
Audience, if you know, you know.
Yeah, it might be
And
Rick
that's
Manning's
the
mystery.
didn't add it in the list.
Yeah, Rick Manning's mystery is not on this list. Sorry.
Oh.
Next, let's go with Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, done by Third Eye Blind from Zombie Island. Okay, and then let's go with Terror Time again.
Oh, whoa. Why'd you save a 12 to the very end?
You didn't say you had 12 left.
It's not, but so you kind of screwed me over by
Well,
saving that one.
and lastly is Double Double Joint from Cyberchase.
What's that one?
That's the one where they're split up and they're like kind of capturing the monsters a bit. That's when the creeper gets the photo done and Iron Mask is in the animal cage.
Well, this one doesn't belong where it is.
Okay, everyone have your list?
Yep.
Yeah.
Who would like to
do.
begin?
I guess I can. Are we
Okay,
going from 12 to 1 or 1 to 12?
let's go from 12 to 1.
All right. Am I going through all of them, or are we all doing 12s at the same
Oh,
time? then
great idea.
11s
Let's
and 10s?
all do the number at the same time. Yeah, that's better.
All right.
All right. So 12, I have How Groovy.
Oh,
Man, for once we agree on music choices, Crimson, because I also
Heyo!
how groovy.
oh, I don't have How Groovy. I have The Aliens Are Here.
Wow. You like How Groovy more?
Yes, because I recognize that song. I can't. I couldn't tell you right now.
Hold on.
The Aliens Are Here. I couldn't tell you. I can't think of a single lyric. I don't know the tone. I don't know the rhythm. I can't think of anything of that song.
So it's interesting that you hold something bad over something unknown neutral. Personally,
sure.
if I had something bad, I'd put that under the unknown one.
Actually, I'm okay with
Different
my
way of
list
doing
here.
it.
I think there's only 2 that I would switch, but I'm okay with that. Where everything is. Looking
Yeah,
ahead
I'm
here.
pretty much the same way.
Okay, then I guess I'll go down the line. I'll go with my 11 first. My 11 is How Groovy.
Okay.
My 11
Scooby-Doo,
is
where? Never mind,
Down the
sorry.
line,
no.
dude. Right, you're up.
Okay. 11 for me is Aliens Are Here.
Scooby-Doo, where are you? Alien Invasion.
Oh, the Jennifer Love Hewitt one?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, Ryder, you and I are now set. For 2 swapped, but
Yeah,
bottom of the list.
pretty much.
Interesting. I'm curious what 10 is then.
I'll go
if
next.
maybe
for
we'll all
10.
even out.
Yeah, I'll go next. 10. I'm at Alien Invasion. Where are you?
Okay. Scooby-Doo, where are you? Cyber Chase.
Oh, the B-52 one?
Mhm.
Wow. My number 10 is Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Billy Ray Cyrus.
And that's Alien Invasion.
Not the
Or
first
That's
Alien
the Witch's
Invaders.
Ghost.
Just Ghost.
That's the slow country one.
The country-esque one. It's not, I can't call it country. It's not a country.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
a bar song.
It's got a country
It-
singer, but it's not a country though.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I am. Okay, yeah. All right, I misremembered a few things. There's another thing I want to switch, but they're all super close, so I'm not too terrible about it.
All right, back to you, Crimson.
Are we on 9?
Yep.
Okay. Number 9. Aliens are here.
Okay. All right. My number 9, the Jennifer Love Hewitt version of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Number 9 is Cyber Chase. Where are you?
So there's a lot of crossover with these lower rankings so far.
Man, you guys have the
Not too
B-50.
much deviation.
No, but you guys
Yeah.
have the B-52 version low.
Yeah, I think I would swap that out where I put Witch's Ghost, but I might
Okay.
be. I'm trying to remember where I'm trying to remember the different songs right now.
I'll
I was
start.
just trying to figure out. Sorry, I was trying to figure out because I was in the podcast coverings trying to keep it in mind. I didn't remember if I had Witch's Ghost, Scooby Doo, Where Are You, or Cyber Chase, Where Are You? I didn't remember their positions.
Yeah, me neither.
So hopefully I didn't contradict my statements.
I'll start with number 8. Number 8, I got Third Eye Blind, the Zombie Island version of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Okay.
Number 8 for me is Witch's Ghost. Where are you?
Okay, the Billy Ray one.
Number 8, same one. Billy Ray Cyrus one.
Okay. You guys are pretty even, the two of you.
I know we're making
Which
up for
is
the Christmas
contrary to everything else.
one.
Yeah.
We're making up for the Christmas one.
Yeah. Ryder, you're
We
starting
found
on
our
7.
negotiating table. Am I next? Yeah. All right. 7 for me is Hello Cyber Dream.
Mine is the was it double joint, whatever you
Double
call
joint.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one I don't really remember. I remember the scene. I don't remember the music. So this one is higher than I think it belongs. But
Okay.
that was the last spot I had open.
Ryder, I'm in agreement. Hello, Cyber Dream. That's what I have for 7.
Neat.
For number 6,
Halfway.
Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Zombie Island.
Okay, so that's the Third Eye Blind one.
Yeah.
I have the B-52's version. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? From Cyber Chase.
For 6,
yeah,
I
you love
have
B-52.
yeah. For 6, I have Double Joint.
Okay.
Okay.
This is my start, right? Number 5.
Yes.
Number 5, I have Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air.
Ooh, was that due to lack of choices, or was
That
that
was
where
the
you
first
wanted it?
song.
Yeah. It's an interesting one.
I have this is 5. The
Yep.
Ghost is
Yep.
Here.
Okay.
Hello Cyber Dream, my number 5.
Okay, that's 2 above that's 2 above Ryder and I. Okay. Huh. And then it's Ryder's start on 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
4 is for me is Zombie Island. Where are you?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's a pretty classic Where Are You one. So.
Puts a smile on my face even today.
Okay, Crimson.
And for me, my number 4 spot is for the Hex Girls song.
Oh. Interesting. That's lower than I thought you would put it. Unless you were forced to put it there.
It's kind of one position off of where I would have put it. But
Okay.
it's all right.
My number 4 is Ghost is Here. And then the last three.
Ryder.
Here we go.
What do you mean, Ryder?
Wait, what?
Is you,
No, me.
Crimson?
Number 3. Ghost is here. That's one I would have wanted to swap with Hex Girl.
Oh, okay. This is going to be a little surprising. My number 3 is Double Joint.
Yeah, that is very strange. Because I noticed you hadn't mentioned it yet.
I think I would swap it with Ghost is Here, but I do like Double Joint.
Well, where's Ghost is here for you?
4.
4.
Yeah,
So
I
3.
want to
So it's still
arrange.
that high? Double Joint's still that high?
I like Double Joint more than Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air.
Yeah, I'd
Wow.
want to do some rearranging between my between 6 and 10 for me, but I actually think they're okay where they are. Like there's like I'm not mad where they ended up. 3 for me is Earth, Wind, Fire, Air.
Okay.
Springs. Number 2.
Yeah. I was just taking that in. Okay. Number 2, I have Hex Girl.
Number 2, I have Hex Girl.
Number 2, Hex Girl's song, Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air.
Oh, you like Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air more than Hex Girl.
Yeah. It's so hard with Hex Girl songs because I bounce around all the time. What's my favorite? Hex Girl, Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air. Mystery, which isn't in the movie, but it is a Hex Girl song. And Zoinks, another good one. Also not in the movie. But got a lot of good ones.
Should we all just say number 1 at the same time?
Doesn't
Well,
matter.
what's left?
I know, right?
Rick Manning's Mystery, number 1. No, Terror Time again.
Terror Time again.
Again. And again. And again.
That was the easy cemented. Like I know that's number 1.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's a
pretty
reason why
much.
we all saved number 1.
No.
Exactly. I already had my 1, 2, and 3 pretty much from when we started, which was the 2 Hex Girl songs being 2 and 3, and Terror Time being number 1. I have all those on my Spotify.
Well, audience, let us know
Nice.
whose list you agree with most, whose you disagree with most, what sounds crazy, what sounds good. Do you think Double Joint deserves to be 3 out of 12?
Write your list if you joined in the fun.
Oh yeah, what's your list? Anyway, that's been the lineup. We haven't done one of those in a long time.
That's true.
Yeah. That was like the second or third segment, I think.
All right, anything else we got?
I had one more question, and then I'm satisfied with the recap. We talked heavily about live action adaptations, but we never talked about animated adaptations of a live action thing. And there's not that many that I could think of, but they do exist. And I was curious what your guys' thought on that is. The ones that came to mind to me was like Netflix Witcher into the animated Witcher one, which isn't directly correlated, but it's
I mean,
kind of
I
You're
I
saying
went
live
from
action
book.
to animated.
too
I,
animated. Yeah.
I mean, look,
Or
I
Scott
went from
Pilgrim to the animated show, which is based off of the graphic novels, but it's still live action to an animated format.
I can't talk about Scott Pilgrim unless you guys have seen it.
I have not.
Yeah, so then I'm gonna not talk about
Those are the
it.
things that came to mind. That was hard to think of
So thinking about
live
the
action
Witcher,
animated.
so the thing about the Witcher ones, right? It went to game first, then live action.
Yeah, but the animated Netflix is based off the show, right? Not the game.
That's true. It does adhere more to the
So
Netflix
that's
game.
what I'm trying to
So
go for.
yeah, I was fine with it. I didn't take any issues with it. I thought the movie did a good job of adapting the world. I have some criticisms for it, but it's not really an adaptation of The Witcher. It's following an entirely different character, so it's like a prequel. So
I
it's not an adaptation of the same story. Is what I'm getting at.
don't know
But it's
many
within
that
the same universe and portrayal. So
I don't know many that come to mind that I'd like more than the live action that they come from.
I mean, it's a very small list. Could you guys come up with others? There's like the Animatrix and
There's
the
the real
animated Riddick
Ghostbusters show.
movie.
There's the Beetlejuice show. There's the Night at the Museum animated show.
Oh yeah, that thing existed.
Yeah, there's quite a
Yeah.
few, like a popular movie turned into like a Saturday morning cartoon kind of thing.
Yeah.
It happened a lot more
Um,
back in the 80s and 90s, though, I think.
would Star Wars count? Because it went from live action films to like
I,
Clone Wars.
yes,
I would say that
I
counts.
think that would count.
Okay. No, I guess my feelings about it are fairly similar. In general, it's about just the execution of what you're doing, in the sense of where I guess the examples you provided me, Crimson and Star Wars, like the Witcher Netflix animated movie is a prequel, um, but it still fits relatively well within the world, aside of a few maybe more anime leaning moments. Uh, I would do this. I would say the same for the Clone Wars animated show, and the Rebels animated. I think the worst fitting show animated wise for the Star Wars universe has been Rebels, and I don't think it's a terrible show. It still fits. It's just very very dumbed down. Um,
And then Star Trek has like lower decks, right? So, and I know you like
yeah.
that one, or
So
did something.
Lower Decks is something that I love the idea of. I just don't like what they. So like the show is fun. Um, it's probably the most for people who thought like the original Star Trek shows were too slow or too boring. Uh, this show is not that at all. Um, I think it serves as a good entry point to the people who need more uh like action to be grabbed into a franchise. Um, but I think it's a good show in its own right. Though I wouldn't. It's for me. It's more on the level of like it lacks the quality of writing that of the era it's a part of in the Star Trek universe.
Again, I don't. No example comes to mind that I think I like the cartoon more than what it came from.
Yeah. So the overall is that I haven't found one yet, but I'm not opposed to a cartoon being better than its live action counterpart.
Yeah, just not something that happens all that often.
Yeah. So yeah, not opposed. It's definitely possible. Uh, and I guess my last question is for the season. How did you feel you guys feel the season went?
Spooky, groovy, mystery.
Groovy.
See, you
Um,
remember it.
I didn't claim I forgot that one. I don't.
Don't
I
forget
don't.
Scooby
I want
Doo.
to. Yeah. I mean,
It
I
was fun.
really batted for this season early on as an idea, and I'm glad
Finally
we
got around
finally
to it.
got to it.
Yeah,
Uh,
some behind the scenes stuff for the audience. These two were chomping at the bit when they realized I wasn't into Scooby Doo much after the magic was introduced, so they were raring
Audi-
to go.
Audience, there's a lot of like ideas of theme seasons, like pile on pile, but this one screamed a little
we've
more
got like over
of,
20 ideas for
oh, we have
themes.
tons, but it's just like an idea of one of writer being, oh, I only know this small portion of this whole thing.
Uh, so
Yeah.
yeah, they've been chopping at the bit. So I for one am I hope you guys feel satisfied with my introduction to this more magical side of Scooby Doo, and I
Are
had
you
fun this season.
satisfied?
Oh yeah, I outside of Alien Invasion and Velma, absolutely, I'm satisfied. I
5 out of
enjoyed this
7, not
season.
too bad. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I would have liked to have gotten more, but it is technically a long season uh, for normal. So I think we got a good amount in.
Crimson, if you could have added one more, what would you have chosen?
Would it have to be a movie, or could it have been like a pilot to a
I
show or
think it could have
something?
been a pilot.
Pilot to a show. Um.
Um,
Oh, there's so much stuff out there. I
one
would
that I
probably go ahead, writer.
yeah
I'll
one that
think.
I
I've seen more. I'm
one that I
thinking.
had was Loch Ness Monster. I actually owned that movie for a while growing up.
It's a good one. I like the music in that one, and I think they integrated the CG monster fairly well, from what I can remember in it. it felt like a scary monster. It was good. I think Scooby-Doo Where's My Mummy, I think would be a good one. That's one of my favorite ones.
Okay. See, by how much I talked about it, I feel like Boo Brothers would be one I'd throw in the mix, but then there's also the Reluctant Werewolf and Ghoul School and Scooby Doo Goes to
Yeah,
Hollywood,
some
like those
classic
movies.
stuff.
But my number answer would be Batman meets Scooby Doo.
Yeah, I was gonna guess that.
Yeah.
Makes sense. That's on brand. And I don't know if I ever watched that all the way either.
I remember the original Super Friends crossover. I don't remember the new one, if there was a new one with like Brave and the Bold.
No, no, no. Well, it wasn't Brave. There are newer versions, but the one I'm thinking of is, was it 70s? I guess classic 70s Scooby Doo.
Oh, so yeah, so Super Friends.
Well, it
Batman.
wasn't super. There is one of the Super Friends, like the Justice League Super Friends. It's not that. It's more that's more the Super Friends meet Scooby Doo. This is Scooby Doo meets Batman. Like this is a Scooby Doo episode, more so.
Oh, I see.
But it is interesting seeing the Mystery Gang go against Joker.
Crazy to think about.
Oh, in a 70s setting though. So keep that in mind. But anyway, that's for a later date.
Indeed so. With that, gentlemen, shall I read us out?
I think so.
All right,
Yeah,
audience.
I'm roaring for an exit.
All right. Thank you, audience, for listening, whether it be Spotify, Amazon, Castbox, GoodPods, iHeartRadio, Podcast, and Samsung. And if you happen to be in our visual side of things, be it YouTube or Rumble, thank you for watching there and enjoying our PNG Tuber slideshow. Feel free to
Oh
comment,
my
like, and subscribe everywhere.
guys, we're idiots. We're fools. We
Huh?
forgot something.
What did we forget?
Audience, we forgot that this upcoming new season, we have a wheel idea coming to you. A wheel spin. We gotta spin a
We did
wheel.
forget. Yeah, we do.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
been a while.
Ryder, I'm
That's why
so
we all
sorry for
forgot.
cutting you out.
Yeah,
I just went, oh my gosh, we have a wheel.
It's been seasons and seasons. Was Tomb Raider the last?
It was
wheel
big.
spin we had? Oh, big, yeah.
was big.
99. That was 30 plus ago. That was a long. All right, well, I'm excited for a wheel spin. See what Sinister can.
Well, so in case
bring
you don't know
out.
what a wheel spin is, we're gonna spin this wheel, and whatever it lands on, we then ship over to Sinister, and Sinister chooses something from wherever it lands, and that's what we will be covering on this upcoming season.
There you
Last
go.
time it happened, I think, was back in season 15, where it landed on Tailored Sprinks, and the choice was big.
Yeah.
Okay, so season 22, or actually season 23, going in. Let's spin this wheel. Sorry, it's very choppy on the end. It doesn't run smoothly. We'll see where it lands.
As long as it gets a result, that's all that matters.
Oh my goodness,
And
you
hopefully
guys!
it's not a double.
You guys could not believe what it landed on. This is
Yeah.
insane. What it landed. This is wonderful. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so.
Tailored Sprinks again.
Crimson. What's something you love to do at the end of a recap?
End it.
No, like what's something you do for the audience at the end of a recap?
Drop a hint.
Exactly. What do you think this landed on?
Hint. Mysteries? I don't know.
Oh, you're close.
I don't remember what's on the wheel.
It's funny
I forgot
because
what's on the wheel.
you two can't see it, but myself and the audience can. It landed on the genre of adventure.
Oh, how interesting.
Huh. Fascinating.
What a broad spectrum for Sinister to choose from.
Yes. So next season we're going into, there will be something of an adventure movie that Sinister will choose for us to cover.
Man, so many choices. That'll be an interesting one to dive into.
Yeah. I'm sure there's at least 20.
At least.
At least.
Okay. And Ryder, you have
Now-
your spiel, so
All right. Where did I leave off? Should I just? I'll just.
I think it just You're
I
right.
think you're going to see your name on the sign out.
Yeah. Yeah. I was saying thank you for watching our PNG tubers. Thank you for. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe everywhere. Tell us if you hate our opinions or how much you love them. As always, I've been a Geeky Writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Sprinks.
And we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Toodaloo.